Greetings, everyone, and welcome to an especially dressed up edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party! It's huge! It's monstrous, it's big, it's creative, and it's creature-like, it's awesome!
It is.
Yes, I'm excited.
I'm excited, and guess what?
What?
I'm Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Way to be quick there, buddy.
Well, that's too fast.
It's that liver.
Yeah.
It's that new liver he
Hops
has.
up on my bionic liver.
Yeah, he's way ahead of the game.
That's right.
Look, we have a great show.
We do.
And for this episode, we have an amazing topic.
Yes.
What? I'm so excited. What is our topic?
The topic is monster suits.
Monster suits!
Monster suits.
We're in
Now,
suits, you
James was-
climb in and you get in and you
Yeah,
can't
you
see out.
play the monster.
We're
Physical,
talking a monster costume.
elaborate
because,
costumes.
Yes. And James was a little confused because what did you think the topic was?
Well, suits, you know, they're the studio executives that greenlight monster movies.
But
right?
it's not about that.
That's a different kind of monster.
It's a different kind of monster.
Right.
Isn't that monster executives?
I
could
guess,
be.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess,
another
yeah.
topic.
But in
Okay.
slang, it would be monster
Yeah.
suits.
No,
Like,
but
this is like suitmation. This is like
suit actors,
And I want to be
creators.
very, very clear. Very clear. We're not talking about
For once, you're clear.
just not makeup, you know, where you just put an appliance.
Right,
in. No,
right.
we're talking
No,
about
we're talking
suits.
suits.
Yeah,
You know,
physical
you
suits.
physically have to climb in and
From
you got
head to
something on
toe,
your
full
head.
body.
Right.
Yeah.
Suits.
Like transformation into another character.
Yes. Now, when coming up with this topic, I felt that somehow, you know, we'd be stuck. Because who could we get?
I
Who
know,
could we
I know.
possibly get
It's a
for
tall
this
order.
wonderful, wonderful topic? And yet, somehow, like we're modern
like
gods.
the gods, like the Lovecraftian gods have blessed us.
We came up with the topic, and then boom, the perfect
showed up
guest
at our door.
just came out of the clouds.
Right.
We did the sacred ancient incantation,
Right.
and there he was. And who is our guest?
Oh
Shawn
my
Sheridan?
God,
Yes.
Shawn, who is our
Ladies
guest?
and gentlemen, our guest is a monster suit fabricator, a creature designer.
What?
He's worked with companies like K&B,
No.
Steve Johnson,
What?
John Buechler,
No.
Stan Winston.
Oh.
He's worked on movies like From Dusk Till Dawn,
Zowie.
Wishmaster, Blade 2, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Cowboys and Aliens, The Muppets, the new Muppets movies,
Muppets, I love
Carnosaur,
Carnosaur.
Cat in the Hat. Tons of movies. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ted Haines.
Thank you.
I am in awe. You worked with Muppets.
I did work with some Muppets, yeah.
Oh,
That's awesome.
You know, I created this list, and Muppets are on my list.
Excellent.
That's cool.
I love Muppets.
It's not a specific list. It's just this list that he keeps of random things. Muppets.
Check off
mayonnaise.
So, Ted, tell us a little bit about like how you got into this. I mean, you kind of specialize.
Who
in
are
the,
you?
Yeah, the full body costuming. You create elaborate creatures and monsters out of foam and all this stuff. Like, how did you get into this?
How does one get
How
this
far back do you
dream
wanna
job?
go?
I want to
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
1967.
Oh, wow.
I was born. No, so let's take 9 years after that. It's a cliche in the industry with guys my age. I'm 50 years old, not ashamed of it.
Don't even get me going.
Star Wars came out when I was 9.
Okay.
And,
There you go.
Just blew my socks off. And I didn't see a trailer for it. I didn't see an ad for it. My grandmother told my mom, said, you should take the boys. I've got a brother. You should take the boys to see this film I saw. She took her other
Your grandmother?
My grandmother. She took
Wow.
some of her other grandkids.
Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah, I said, show.
Go down and see the Star Wars.
So there's like lasers and there's a bar where there's these monsters and I think the boys would like this.
The monsters drink a sarsaparilla.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why I'm
okay,
making
there's
your
gonna be monsters at a
grandmother
bar. I didn't know
cliche.
what this thing was gonna be. So of course I went and it blew my socks off. You know, I'm watching the crawl and the Star Wars and the cantina and everything. It was just amazing. And so then it was every comic book, every magazine, every behind the scenes. And I got a book and it had a lot of the great behind the scenes stuff.
Because that was one of the
Sure.
first movies that came out that you started to see that.
You
stuff,
started to see a
the
little bit behind the
making
scenes,
of
and I
stuff.
actually brought the book with me that I can
awesome.
share. But that's what got me going. And it wasn't makeup, and it wasn't monsters. It was special effects. It was costumes.
Right.
The props. Just I was in awe of all of it, and so I try to absorb everything Star Wars. And after that, you just little by little you start to see other things on TV. But even before that, I was watching Voyage at the Bottom of the Sea when I was a kid. And I was watching
yeah.
Talk about monster suits.
Oh yeah.
Lobster Man.
Buster
Lobster
Keaton,
Man.
Flash Gordon, Buster
yes.
Keaton.
Oh,
way
yeah.
back,
Mhm, yep.
So that was Sunday mornings, watching that stuff, and then Star Wars hits, and then everything. It didn't matter if it was good or bad. Battle
Right, right.
Beyond the Stars, or
Sure, no, we're- like all of us.
Yeah.
Jason of Star Command. Or,
I love that to this day.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
What about the Japanese stuff? Did you grow up on Godzilla movies?
I liked.
Oh boy.
Okay, I know it's hard. It's really hard to sit in this room. I'm not gonna
That's our
look you guys
show.
in the eyes. No. I was not into Godzilla on certain levels, like equally.
Okay.
Wait,
Right.
you were into Godzilla and not into
And
Okay.
at the same time,
Pros and cons. Pros.
pros, really cool suit. I
Right.
knew it was a man in a suit, and I wanted
course.
to know how they built it.
yeah.
Right.
And I knew it was a guy in a suit stomping on miniatures and blowing them up, and I thought, even cooler.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to
Right.
build miniatures and blow them up and have a monster suit blow them up.
With
or
your
just
best
stomp
gal.
on them. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But aside from that, to me, when I was a kid, I thought it was cheesy. And it's just like,
Right,
and
well,
I
but
just
I can,
didn't
you know,
embrace
I
the
get it. There is
cheese.
that element.
Coming from
Sure.
Star Wars, I could see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah.
honestly, Star Wars was my first taste. I didn't grow up in the time now where you're
Right.
just bombarded with everything from Netflix, and you've got all that.
Sure.
I'd seen Mary Poppins, and I had seen, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and The Wizard of Oz. And it's like,
These are all great.
yeah,
That,
and
that,
snicker,
that Dick Van Dyke suit and
Dick Van Dyke.
and Mary Poppins is awesome. It's so realistic.
Oh, that's
So
very, very funny, Sean. Very, very
that took
funny.
me a long time to figure out as a kid that Dick Van Dyke played two guys in that film. And when I finally
Neither of them convincing.
Well, no, but I mean,
You weren't convinced?
as a kid, when I finally realized that Dick Van Dyke also played the banker,
Yes.
I was like,
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
there's something
right.
going on there with makeup, and
Right,
people
right.
don't realize that was a suit, Sean. That was actually a
No,
very
okay,
young,
now
a
the
little
three-piece-
girl
Now,
played
listen,
Dick Van Dyke.
Listen, for our listeners.
It was an
just-
amputee,
no,
actually.
no.
Like, he walked on stilts,
Okay, see.
like in Silent
Silent
Running.
Running.
Yeah,
okay.
It was ahead
with
of
the
its
Dick
time.
Van Dyke mask.
Yeah,
on.
okay.
Dick Van Dyke went on to play.
Now-
Was it Huey?
Okay, now, guys, this is all very funny, but just for our listeners, that is not the case.
No, it is. It's true.
In
No,
Mary
no,
Poppins,
he's lying. He's lying to you.
Mary Poppins, it was all makeup. There was no suit.
They were all suits.
But
No, okay,
so Ted,
There is no
you don't
Julie
like, You don't like to
Andrews.
lie to the listeners out there. Do you any more
Ted-
lies you got there, buddy?
Yes, I have lots more.
All right.
But Ted,
right,
did you do your own Super 8 movies and stuff like that?
I did.
You?
I
Okay.
cut
got
things out of
into that a few
cardboard?
years later. I mean, what I started doing, I knew I wanted to do something with film. I wanted,
Right.
Of course, I was 9, I was 10. I didn't have access to Super 8 cameras or 16 millimeter. There was no video then.
Right.
So I would take my Star Wars action figures and take them out in the sandbox, and I would build sand crawlers out of cardboard and duct tape and spray paint.
Nice.
Wow.
Do things like that. And then I had a little 110 camera. And so I would set it up like a comic book, and I would take a picture and reenact all of Star Wars and take photographs.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then, beg my parents for quarters and nickels and dimes. Like, can I dust this, or can I clean that, or can I vacuum that for 25
Right.
cents?
Sure.
And then I get the film developed, and then my mom and both my parents were school teachers. And my mom would get big sheets of tag board, and I would get the film developed, the 110 film,
Yeah.
and then I would paste them
So
all
like
up
a comic book.
a giant comic
That's
book.
awesome.
And
Do you
still
little
have
by-
these?
Oh, God, no. It's all long gone. But then I did get into Super 8 filmmaking. I had a good buddy, Pete, that it was Pete and Dan and George and all these guys, and we just, unfortunately,
They're not real people, are they?
they're not real people at all. Henry and James and no, and we all equally loved science fiction and monsters and miniatures and horror,
Right.
and whatever. And my friend Pete, he had a Super 8 camera. I eventually got one. Then he eventually got video. and we started making zombie movies or science fiction films.
Right.
And we
Right.
started building our miniatures and doing all of that. And, you know, of course, along came The Thing and American Werewolf in London and Blade Runner and, you know, things like
It was
that.
a
So-
magical time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was just, you know, E.T., everything. Just, you know.
Oh, that is part of the magical time, sir.
No, it was. It was.
Yeah. Even well,
E.T..
King Kong, you know, the
76.
Yes.
Talk about-
yeah,
Yeah, but that was
Talk
it,
about
yeah.
a costume.
The Jeff
I mean,
Bridges.
no, talk about no, you know, people knock this suit, and let me. Tell
no,
you,
it's a great suit.
that-
I think it's
the
a great
funny
suit.
thing
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
as a kid, I saw that film 10 times, and I thought King Kong was amazing. And look at all the expressions that are on King Kong's face. That's Rick Baker inside that head that he designed and built. And you know, you
totally.
saw King Kong smile and get angry and bring his cheeks up and.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
I don't remember him smiling. but-
What you
No, he
don't
kind of
remember him
did though. a little
smiling?
bit. Yeah, like a
He
little
smirked, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it was not a smirk. It was a smile, and it's like, you know, he starts like kind of like taking his finger and you know, it's like, you
I
know,
think you're
moving.
projecting.
No. You have that beautiful Jessica Lange, beautiful,
Yeah.
just
Yes.
in the palm of Kong's hand,
Yeah.
and this was Jessica
completely
Lange.
useless.
What do you mean useless?
What is he going to do with the tiny lady?
Well,
Nothing.
Well, he was just fascinated by her, though.
Yeah,
I mean, like, you know,
yeah,
I mean,
she
you know,
was-
It's never
It
going to
was
work.
something to flick, you know. Just,
He needed a friend. He needed that friend to go, dude. What do you know? There should have been another gorilla friend. that's
dude, it's
like,
not going to happen.
Hey man,
But,
look,
look, okay.
I know. I've been there.
Okay, this is okay. All right, so
beautiful,
all right.
she's
Yes, she's
blonde,
beautiful.
it's just not
She's
gonna-
lovely and everything. But getting back to the suit, though,
It's a great suit.
because Rick Baker was like the ape suit guy.
Right.
I mean, for a long time.
The suit is not the problem with that movie.
right.
If they had
Wait, there's a problem with that film?
Yes, there is. I would say if you sprinkled some Godzilla into
some
that mix,
dinosaurs.
that would have made.
Well, yeah, the Big Short. They totally shorted the audience with
Yeah.
Skull Island.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like they did. They
You
just
had the
didn't have the
one
money.
snake. Yeah,
but like,
it's money.
But the characters like Jeff Bridges and Charles Grodin,
All
I
fine.
think are great.
Yes.
But they spent more time and effort on getting off of Skull Island. But yeah,
If
but
they
Skull-
could have gone forward in time, taken the 20 minutes out of the Peter Jackson Skull Island
Yes.
part,
Yes.
yeah,
put that in there.
yeah.
Okay.
I
Ted,
like
no,
you.
Ted, I'm going to go a step further. Okay. Now, I'm just going to say this.
Okay.
I loved Rick Baker in the King Kong suit.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
great.
Me
So they
too.
committed. They originally it was going to be we're going to have like a 60-foot tall, King Kong.
Right.
Okay. So that didn't work out exactly.
Yeah.
They're going to have Rick Baker. I would have loved to have seen some dinosaurs. It could have been guys in suits,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
with the same
sure.
technology at that time.
Yeah.
Or don't tell me that you couldn't make a cool looking a Stegosaurus.
Oh,
it
no,
would
I
be
think-
two guys, walking along.
And some
it's a-
Godzilla style
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
city carnage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On one hand, I was disappointed that you didn't have dinosaurs because that's one of the things I loved about King Kong. However, at that time in '76, that was the big monster movie of the time.
With some of that stuff too, and I was late to the party with some of the monster stuff. 'Cause I mean, as a kid, it scared the crap out of me. You know, I remember
King Kong?
No, like Lugosi and Carlo
oh,
and all
sure,
that
sure,
stuff.
right, right.
So I was a little late to all of that kind of party. Even Kong, I was late to that party because I saw the Jeff Bridges Kong before I saw.
Really?
Oh, wow.
33?
What did now? I'm just curious. What did you think when you saw the original?
I saw it at a time when I knew I could appreciate it. I knew what I was watching.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
and as a kid, I might have just
This is black and white.
it's stupid. No, but I've always loved older films too.
Good,
So I
okay.
mean,
Right.
I was I was brought up in a time when we had 3 networks. And
Yeah.
what was
Oh,
on
sure.
I know
All
that
of
one
us.
well.
Yeah.
What was on TV was what was
That
on
was
TV.
what you were- that's
if
what
it
you
was
watched.
Friday night and it was Ma and Pa Kettle and the Bowery Boys,
Yeah.
we
Oh,
watched
yeah.
it.
Yes.
I will never get those one day at a time years back.
No.
And if you wanted to change your channel, you had to find the pliers.
Oh, there's that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We still do that.
Yeah, until like when like
Just throw the players at the
I-
TV now. Just
and like when HBO first came out, it was
yeah.
like, oh, this is amazing. You could watch movies. I remember they showed The Car all the time. For some reason, The Car
And
was always
Beastmaster.
on. And
People always make that joke,
My-
but
It was always
it's based on
on.
fact. It was always on.
Yeah, it was like the Beastmaster and the Car Network.
my brother and I, we had the little HBO schedule would come out and tell you what films were on and what time they're going to be on
Right.
and day and all that stuff. We had highlighted every time Close Encounters of the Third Kind was going to be on. Drove my mother bananas. We were driving home from our grandparents' house. So what time do you think we're going to get home? It's like, well, it takes about an hour to get back home. well, what time do you think that action will be? And we probably had like little Mickey Mouse or whatever we had, looking at our watches. And, well, what time do you? Well, I don't know. It's 6:45 now. But is Close Encounters on again? You guys have watched that 13 times.
Now that's a suit movie to some extent.
It is.
Yes,
it
a
is
little
a
bit,
suit
yeah.
movie, and we're talking about towards the end of the film.
Sure.
Same guy that built the Kong, Carlo Rambaldi.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, see, now there's two separate things that we're talking about.
Right.
One, okay, now it's when, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, classic Spielberg film, 1977, the spaceship lands, this is towards the end, the big spaceship, and the doors open up, and out come all of these little aliens.
Kids in suits.
These are kids in suits,
Right.
not makeup.
Right.
Now, the alien that comes out, the one big alien with arms,
Puppet.
that's a
Puppet.
yeah,
Right,
that is
That's
a
Marionette.
Yes.
And then you've got the full animatronic,
Yeah.
which is the really actually pretty nice, blinking eyes, and
I think it still
Especially for the
works.
time, yeah.
He
Yeah.
does the hand.
Yeah,
I think it holds
absolutely.
up.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. There's a little weird wrinkle in the wrist, but we forgive that.
You know, I don't notice the wrinkle.
So,
Yeah, you will now. I pointed.
Yeah.
it out.
now you gotta watch it. They cleaned it up in the special edition, though.
Yeah. They put a walkie-talkie in his hand.
Right.
They put in a gun.
They put a gun. Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
So to like, so you're doing these Super 8 films. You're absorbing all this horror sci-fi stuff. So
Right.
when was your first kind of professional job, like getting into this stuff
Well,
in film?
my first professional job, I'd say back, and I come from Wisconsin, so I grew up there, and I actually started making rubber masks for people. They would say, could I? And the first one I ever made was Jason from Friday the 13th.
No.
And
Like the actual face or the mask?
a pullover rubber mask.
Back up,
okay.
though. Back up. So
Yeah.
you're making rubber masks.
Just for fun? For
'Cause,
like,
as a kid, I would go, "How? That's not.
Oh no, I was.
That's
like-
illegal."
That's alchemy.
yeah, right.
Well, and that's I just figured out how to do it because we would grab enough. Let me I got to pull something out of the bag.
No, not that bag.
No. Put it away, Ted. Put it away. No, you guys know this one.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
have.
Star
Wait,
Wars
let's say
album.
Ted is holding up this great book called the Star Wars album, which I have. Actually,
I love that poster,
mine's
the
actually-
Hildebrand brothers.
Mine actually is in a little better shape than yours.
Of course.
Oh, of course.
Mine, I went through this. I mean, just studied every picture.
Yeah, he read
I
it.
mean, even I read it. This was opened up on like my little tool bench downstairs where I would sculpt masks.
Yeah.
and, sculpt models and stuff. So I figured
awesome.
there's
That's
probably
great.
some clay in these pages.
Yeah.
But I remember opening up a page because my dad said when I was like 10 or 11, and I said I really want to do this stuff. I think for a living. And so when I was 9, 10 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. And he said, well, people don't do that for a living. They don't make money doing that. These guys have normal jobs. My dad was a school teacher. He had his master's degree. He was a French
Sure.
teacher, English teacher, and he's an academic. And I would never fault my dad for that. He wasn't an artist.
Right.
Right.
But he just didn't understand. Well, he also they're school teachers or they work at grocery stores. They're managers at stores.
Hey, boss, can I get off early? I'm working on Star Wars.
Exactly. And
Paper or plastic? Okay, now you can go.
Paper or latex?
And so I remember opening this page up. I'm going to say about 10 years old at this point, and I just know what I want to do. I know I'm going to make monsters for the rest of my life. My dad says, there it is, that page. And I opened this book to this page because my dad didn't understand what the hell I was talking about.
Right.
He said, I can't make money doing this. And I said, right there, Dad. That's what I want to do for a living.
There's a picture of.
It's
looks like
Stuart Freeborn,
Uh-huh.
and he's doing like a test fitting with Peter Mayhew.
For Chewbacca.
Yeah, for Chewbacca. So you've got the white face. There's no hair on it yet.
Right.
And then he's got a haired face next to it. And I just knew what was going on there. They're
Right,
doing a
right.
test fitting. It's a guy in a costume.
Yeah.
And I'm like 10. And I said, Dad, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And he said, well,
He said, I have no son.
Yeah, I have no son. What's your brother want to do? Maybe it's something better. And I was persistent. So I mean, yeah, we got into the Super 8 filmmaking, and luckily I had a few buddies that were totally into it too. I mean, building miniature graveyards and fog and doing, just monster. And I was always the monster guy. I would sculpt creatures and build the creatures. I built miniatures, and I had a buddy, he would write scripts and he liked to direct. Another buddy of mine, Dan, he was the DP. So he would
Right.
the cool shots and let's try this and some lighting. And man, you never know how much light you need until you shoot Super 8.
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh yeah,
How many
so much stuff
lights?
comes out really dark.
Kodachrome 40.
It's either really dark
You'd
or
be
like washed
so,
out.
So here you can't really see it, but there's like a monster in the corner there. Like, yeah.
So many shots ruined to begin with. You know,
Right,
that
right.
we're just like, we can't see anything. There's nothing. We've got to redo that makeup. We've got to, and that's what I started doing. I started doing makeup because I think it was
Okay.
the most accessible thing for me to do.
Right, right.
And it was like number one, stealing mom's eyeshadows and stuff like that.
Right.
But then I lucked out. There was a great novelty shop in our town, which also had a
In
back
Wisconsin?
room with a lot of strange little pipes and videos and
I
things. But I was allowed in the
see.
front part of the, not the back room. But so we had Don Post masks. It was this great little, basically a head shop. But I mean, it was a novelty shop and like a Spencer's Gifts, but it was like a mom and pop Spencer Gifts type place. So, but they also had
Mom and pot. Oh, I'm going to lie down now.
But they had a makeup counter. So they had grease sticks.
Yes.
You know, the old grease
Yeah,
sticks.
sure, yeah.
They had some blood, fake blood. They had crepe hair. And I'd been
Right.
reading my books already, and
Yeah.
I knew what crepe hair was, and I knew how to use it.
And that's like the stuff that's like almost like in a.
it comes in a braid.
In a braid.
Yeah, and it's like a wool type, fibrous material, and
Why did it come in a braid?
I have no idea.
I never understood that.
It looked cute.
Just easier to.
I
package.
thought the idea was that it kept it clumped together
Well, and
without being
there is that
disorganized.
because there's a string. There's a
buy
certain
that.
way you've got to cut it, and then it unravels really perfectly. There's a string that goes through the center, and it's actually the first makeup effect I learned how to do was how to lay hair. It can be a really tedious and hard thing to do, but I did it so much doing Wolfman makeups and doing beards because
Yeah.
Cool.
we're kids making movies, and we look like kids making movies, and so what makes you not look like a kid is
Right, of
beards and
course.
mustaches.
Right.
Yes.
So I
Big
started
thick
doing that.
glasses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Big thick glasses.
Standing on your friend's shoulders. in a long
we
coat.
weren't that young. Yeah. so we're doing that, and then it gets to a point where it's like I'm approaching graduation.
Right.
I've been doing this now for 9 years. 8 years, something like that. I'm 18, 19 years old, and it's like I got to get out to LA. Well, I
Right.
had some odd jobs, did some weird things around Wisconsin, the hometown, and just wasn't ready to go to school. And I just wanted to go to LA, so I stayed around town for about 2 years, did a few odd jobs around Wisconsin, but then just kind of buckled down and figured out I got to move to LA. I'm going to make the,
That's where it's all happening.
it's what's happening, and I just got to prove mom and dad wrong. And
Always.
always.
So was
It's
it
like,
just
I'm gonna
you?
make it.
Was it just you by yourself in
It
the
was me
car?
by myself.
Really?
Yep. So, like I said,
That takes some tremendous
Yeah.
balls.
Well, I appreciate that. My brother has told me that. My sister's told me that. My parents eventually told me that. And it's like, boy, it took a lot of balls. That was really brave.
Well,
of you. And
yeah,
it's like,
just you and
no,
your
I was
makeup
just really
supplies.
stupid. I was naive. I'm going to go to Hollywood and make monsters.
Well,
it's like,
what did you
Right,
What
right.
did you bring? What did you
a small makeup kit. So I had grease paint, rigid collodion, some spirit gum, some crepe hair, a lot of Fangorias,
Nice.
Always.
some ripped up jeans, and Predator T-shirts. And
Nice. You got all the boxes
yeah,
checked.
it's
Hollywood, here I come.
As I drove from Wisconsin to LA, my hair just got longer.
Right.
And it's nice with the makeup kit because if things don't go well, then you can put a little makeup on.
Yeah.
makeup on.
Hit the
Yeah.
streets.
Okay, so you get to Hollywood. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Hollywood and Vine. I put that makeup on.
Open for business.
All right.
$20 a night.
I will make you into a werewolf.
No, so I came out to LA and I did do a school for a short bit. It was over on Cahuenga, right across the street from Universal Studios.
Oh, okay.
Called the Institute of Studio Makeup.
Oh.
And I just felt I needed more learning. I was knocking on doors and wasn't getting anywhere. And it's tough at the time, to do that. I mean, you can't do that anymore. You can't knock on doors.
Yeah, really.
But it was even a little bit tough then, even though that was the booming time. This is 89.
Right.
And so I thought maybe I should get a little schooling in. Well, I quickly realized that I was kind of beyond where the school was teaching me. And
Right.
even the teacher told me that, but I was a bit of a completist. So it's like, I'll finish out the 5 months and do my work. But I was working at the same time up at a costume shop in Agora Hills called Confetti. It was right off the 101 freeway.
Wow,
by
I
Keenan.
vaguely know of this.
Right on the freeway, faces the freeway. And
It's still there?
No, it's been gone for a really long time now. But I worked at Confetti, and the great thing about Confetti, which the Confetti was the name of the party store, it was before Party City and
Right.
It didn't exist. So the great thing about that story, I get hired right away. And they just need help because it's close to Halloween, all this kind of stuff too. And they've got a makeup counter there that, I mean, I just lost my shit when I saw it. They've got Ben Nye makeup. You know, you could just, every color. Every palette, every color, all the brushes. They got latex rubber. They've got all the different good glues, the prosthetic adhesives, and the crepe hair and good hair, you know, human hair, and,
Right.
you know, all this stuff that you could buy. So I was just so excited. Plus, they've got like little appliances, like the better, like the Wuchi appliances.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm just going bananas. And of course, we got a great discount. And so the owner of the business encouraged everybody to dress up. You know, come October, it's like,
Okay.
I want you
Oh.
to dress up on Saturdays. It helps sell the costume. So pick a costume off the wall, do whatever you want. So I come in and look about 97 years old. I've got a bald cap on and this.
Nothing to do with makeup.
No.
It was-
It's just, it was a tough week. And so I've got this big beard and like bags on, and, you know, done a whole cotton and latex, you know, stipple makeup and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, the bald cap and hands were made up. And I did a costume and a whole bit, and I'm all hunched over. And I walked through the front door. And my boss looks at me and she goes, sir, she goes, we're not quite open yet. And I said,
Classic.
I said, no, I know. I'm coming into work. And she's, who are you? I said, it's Ted. How did you do that? And she comes, everybody's, oh my God, you guys got to see this. You guys got to see this. And, you know, some people are princess costumes or like the stereotypical
Hobo costume.
hobo, jailbird, you know, whatever like that. And I'm just like this 97-year-old, you know, kind of look like David Bowie in The Hunger type.
Right.
And they're just, how'd you do it? Where'd you get all this stuff? And I told her name was Dickie. And I said, well, Dickie, you sell all this stuff. I bought it from you. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, I got all this stuff from you. This is everything that we sell. She goes, you're working the makeup counter. And so every Saturday, every Sunday, I was doing a makeup. So I did the Wolfman. I did a witch. I did, you know, all these different build-up makeups that I would do, a Frankenstein and all this stuff. And so I would do the whole costume as well.
And these were just demonstrations?
Demonstrations. I would do a makeup on myself before I went to work. So I'd wear it all day long. But I only worked the makeup counter because she didn't even know I wanted to do makeup.
Right.
So she stuck me back there. And for the first time ever, is that first weekend, I think that I had a Wolfman makeup on. And it was the very classic Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman. And I did the hands and the outfit and the whole bit. And she said in one day, I sold more makeup than she would sell in 1 month. No. We had people lined up out the front door. I mean, like 50, 60
my
people.
gosh.
And they would go, and it's like, you know, we had these sheets, and it's like, anybody want to be the Wolfman, step over here. I'm going to explain to you how we're going to do it.
That's awesome.
Like,
It's like you're in a little course you're
Yeah,
giving.
yeah, and that's, you know, so I would just do a tutorial with, and people, it's like, okay, who wants to be a Wolfman? Oh, I do. And they would step forward, and people would grumble like, well, he's stepping on. I said, I'm going to get to everybody. And so we do a Wolfman tutorial. Then we do a witch. Then we do a vampire. And she said, you sold over $5,000 worth of makeup today.
That's crazy.
I never
awesome.
sold $5,000 of makeup in a season.
So was that when like a cigar chomping Hollywood producer walked in and said, "Hey kid, I like your style. I'm gonna put you in a movie."
Who's this old
gotta tell
man
you.
selling old man
As a
makeup?
matter of fact, that never happened. No. So I completed that school. Sorry, long story, really long. But yeah, I
that's great,
completed
though.
that school. And my first day out of that school, the instructor gave me a call and said, I got a call from John Beekler, who runs MMI.
Oh yeah,
And
Ghoulies,
Ghoulies,
Troll, all those, right?
He directed Friday the 13th Part
7, right? The New Blood, I think.
Is it the
What's
New
it, The New
Blood?
Blood?
It's the telekinetic
Yeah,
one. where-
Carrie,
Oh, I love that
Carrie
one.
versus Jason.
Yeah,
That's
was-
actually a really cool one.
That's a great
good
one.
Jason
Yeah.
makeup too. I like that.
And I loved
Yeah.
I loved Part 3 because Tom Savini did some neat stuff in there.
Yes,
but-
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Beekler was definitely a big guy at that point.
He was he's a big name to, you know. Big name, yeah. I don't know, but I was excited.
I mean, he
John,
was-
if you're
yeah.
listening,
Well,
I
wait,
mean
yeah.
no
us.
disrespect
Yeah, sure.
whatsoever.
So, wait,
yeah.
so you go in and what? How, you say, hey.
So John, I called up John and he said, yeah, we're going to be hiring, and he has a coordinator, John Foster, and so I go in for an interview, and they look at my book, and I did a lot of foam fabrications, cutting foam, snipping foam to build up muscles and creature suits. And John Beekler says, "Oh, you're a foam fabricator. We need a guy here that does foam fabrication." And I was like, "I didn't know that was a job. That's just what I was doing."
Right.
And he goes, "No, foam fabricator. That's a pretty, big thing." And I actually met on that job too. I met a fellow named Ken Hall, who's a really good foam fabricator. It's fantastic. He's got his own shop called Total Fabrication. So we're working on these shows. I worked the first show I got hired for there was The Lawnmower Man.
Okay.
Lawnmower Man.
Jeff Fahey.
Yes,
Right.
of James Gonis fame.
Right.
Different movie.
Same title, different
Same
movie.
title.
Yeah. No, but James has a
Student film.
a student film that he did.
That benefited from the fact that the feature was not faithful to the story, and my student film happened to be faithful to it. So the fact that it was unfaithful and that King sued to have his name taken off of it helped my film get more attention as a student film than it normally would have gotten.
Right.
There
That's
you go.
cool.
But you got paid. Now,
No, we did some neat gags on that. And it was my first job. And he just kind of threw me in, here you go, start building stuff.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So that kind of led to other stuff.
Working for John. I worked for John for about 3 years.
Okay.
And so after
so
Lawnmower
some
Man.
other full moon
what-
films
full
and
moon.
stuff.
Full
What else
moon.
did you
So
do?
we were doing, I think the first full moon one I remember was Seed People.
Oh, pod people,
He's-
seed. Oh no, seed people.
Seed
Yeah,
people.
with
Seed
the
people.
weird like
Charlie would do-
plant things.
We're going to call them homages
Yeah.
to classic films. So this was a kind of an homage to the Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I see.
Right.
And so we did these 3 characters. So it was seed pods. And
with like
they were-
faces on them, like
They were turning the people. These pods somehow would turn the people, and I can't quite remember how or why they were turning.
right.
Doesn't
But there was-
matter.
It doesn't matter. They were just turning. But
Yeah.
we built these 3 monsters. There was Tumbler, who tumbled.
Okay. All right.
There was,
Sometimes the answer's right in front of you.
yeah, exactly. And that was actually played by a little person named Debbie Carrington. I don't know if you guys remember in Total Recall. There's the little person.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Louis knife that jumps up
She's
in the bar
hot.
and slits.
Yeah.
So she was in one of the creature costumes, which was Tumbler, and which actually looks like the most fearsome Carl's Jr. star ever.
Right.
Google image it. Tumbler from Seed People.
Okay.
And then Shooter and
He shoots.
he shoots. And then, I can't remember the other one. But Shooter was actually really neat because it was a young actor. His name was Matt Demerit. And Matt's big claim to fame at the time, Matt was about 21 or 22 when I met him. When he was 12, he was E.T.
Whoa.
He's the young guy who was born with the birth defect of not having any legs.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay.
So
He
he's
walks
in the
in the-
kitchen scene where his hands are on the floor,
Yes.
basically, and they go up through the costume.
Yes.
Much
And
like
walks
Yep. Silent running.
Silent Running,
Exactly
the
like
amputees
that.
and the Huey, Dewey, and Louie
Yeah.
droids.
Yeah.
And so Matt was in this other costume too, where it's a very similar thing where we had his arm sticking out and would lift himself up, and he was a fantastic skateboarder, and
Wow.
he's just a really cool guy, and I lost track of him over
Wow.
the years. But so we had him. So yeah, Seed People, and that leads into Demonic Toys, which leads into
Oh, nice.
Oh, I can't remember the goofy. They were all a little bit goofy.
Sure, yeah. We're talking Charles Band full
It was
moon.
Charlie Band, his homages.
Right.
That must have been a fun place to work at.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
I mean,
certainly
we're-
a busy place at
We're
that
at John
time.
Beekler's, and I'm like 20 or 21 years old at this point now, and I've been working for him, a couple of years, and we're just a bunch of young guys with, really long hair, and
Right.
just we would sleep there 2-3 nights in a row. Just to, we worked on this film called Scanner Cop. It's when they were bringing the Scanner
yeah.
series back. So
I kind of
worked
like
on Scanner
those
Cop,
films.
and
Yeah.
we would the schedule that we had, because I was designing and doing the mechanical work and building the creatures, and we would work for a week, build a creature, take it to set, bring it back to the shop, start building the next one. They had it all built into the schedule. We had 3 major builds.
Wow.
So we'd build for a week, finish, shoot, build for a week, finish, shoot, build for a week, finish, and shoot. And in between it, we had a few other gigs. We had makeup effects gigs, we had blowing up heads, and so we had 3 main creature effects and then all the makeup effects that we were doing.
Wow.
And so it was a nutty schedule.
That's
It was-
crazy.
But no, it doesn't seem like tedium because there's so much variety of the
There was
things
a-
that you're doing.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's just we had like a Grim Reaper, we had a giant bug. Oh, and then this mechanical rig that I built where these little heads come out of the fella's forehead.
Perfect. I love it. I love it.
So bizarre.
I want life to be that way.
And then I went on to Alchemy Effects, which was Charlie Band's creature effects company.
Right.
Kind of like what the Creature Shop was to ILM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Alchemy Effects was to
Like a
to
smaller
Full Moon.
version, yeah.
It's a little bit smaller.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't quite have the budgets that ILM.
Right.
But you know, then I worked for a fellow named Mike Deek who headed up Alchemy Effects. And Mike was just a fantastic guy. He's still in town. He works for Steve Wang. You guys know Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he's a coordinator over at Steve Wang's shop now. And so we did subspecies, we did trancers.
Right. Cool. We've had Tim Thomerson on our show.
Tim's
Yeah.
great. And I spent about 3 months with Tim in Romania.
Nice. That's been fun.
As we all should.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely should. If you get a chance to spend 3 months in Romania with Tim Thomerson, do it.
Yes.
Let's call him.
That's our cruise, our special tour, Monster Party tour.
Tim,
Tim Thomerson.
we're at the airport.
Yeah.
Doesn't he consider us? He goes, "Oh, those four weirdos there."
but in a fun way.
In a fun way.
In a fun
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
He had a good time.
And then he'd probably say, "Is that gray-haired fellow that kid that was with me in Romania?"
Right.
I love it when anyone calls me a kid.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Right.
Oh yeah, he called me a kid. He was on. Well, we did DOLLMAN versus Demonic Toys.
So did you make a lot of the demonic, like the,
did the
monster
demonic
teddy
toys.
bear and the baby
Yeah,
and all that?
exactly,
Oh,
exactly.
I love that
I
stuff.
puppeteered all those. We were under the set.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
the set was like, 2, 3, about 3 feet high, and then we were under there all day long with our hands up
That's
through the floor,
awesome.
puppeteering the clown and the baby Oopsie, and
Right. Yeah.
All
those
that
are
kind of
fun.
stuff.
I
Those
love
are
those
fun
movies.
movies.
Where are all those things now? Are they in storage or? Do you
oh,
have
those.
any
I
idea
mean,
what's-
my God.
Do you have
those-
any?
No,
Oh,
no. I mean,
guessing
it's
somebody
the
has
thing is,
them.
everything that we build, it's built for camera.
Right.
Right.
And it doesn't last long. I mean, rubber rots. I mean,
Sure.
and actually, rubber's even worse today than it was back then. All
Really?
the fillers and stuff like that. Yeah, it's
Oh,
we're
wow.
having, we have trouble with it.
No.
Where the latex rubber is just rotting faster and cracking, and it's terrible.
Wow.
But even the stuff back from then, it's gone. It's got to be.
Yeah. So what are
We
like
burnt it,
after
and blew it up.
after exactly
Some of it we really did. We
Right.
had to. It's like build it and blow it up.
of course. It's the cycle of life.
It's a cycle of life.
Build it, burn it, blow it up, film it.
Yeah.
And
Repeat.
repeats. So from Full Moon, though, did you want to answer some other kind of maybe bigger productions?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, just that's hopefully the natural progression in town. You
Right,
come in
right.
and you work for someone like John, which it was a fantastic opportunity because I got to sculpt, I got to do the mold,
Right,
run
yeah.
the foam latex, paint the piece,
Wow,
mechanize
yeah.
the piece, and take it to set. Whereas nowadays
awesome.
I work at Legacy Effects and I work in fabrication department,
Right.
and that's it.
Right.
And that's fine because we've got like 100 people working
Right,
there.
right.
We have sculptors, we have mechanics, and they all specialize in it.
But to get that full rounded kind of experience.
And you have to. Anybody that comes into town when they're young, they
Right.
have to work in a small shop and get well rounded like that. And
Right.
we don't see that enough nowadays. That
Right,
there's,
right.
It's like everybody wants to do just or can only do this.
So they
thing.
go in already hyper specialized?
a lot of people when they first start, it's like I want to be a sculptor, I want to be a designer, and you might not have that expertise. And
Yeah.
so you've got to learn on the job.
Right.
And
Right.
It's like, the easiest place to start is in the mold shop. Because in the mold shop, you're taking everybody's pieces, you're molding them, you're casting them, and you're starting to learn. You can start to look at the piece that's being cast and see how the sculptor has sculpted that, and you start learning from that. And, you can branch out. I mean, I've always said the mold shop is one of the most interesting places where you're taking a lot of the artwork that's coming into you, and the molds themselves are pieces of artwork.
Right,
I
right.
watched
yeah.
I watched the guys work at Legacy in the mold shop, and they were so clean and so precise. And I mean, it's artwork in itself.
Right, right.
So, and I always, way back when I got to do everything, I prided myself on making good molds. I made
Right.
really good ultra-cal molds. They might have weighed 100 pounds, but they were really good molds. And, really clean, and they had to be the thickness just right and all that, because you couldn't, whatever, like if you're going to run foam latex appliances. But I mean, the pieces that you get out of there are going to hinge on that department.
And especially if you're working on a limited budget, You want those things to be
Those
as
have
precise
to
as
last.
time
possible.
too. Yeah.
They've got to last.
Yeah, right.
So, but I mean, starting out at a shop like John's, where you get to do absolutely everything.
Right.
You know, you're sculpting it. You know, but I think people just, you know, that are coming in nowadays just aren't quite as well rounded. There's a lot of
Right.
fabricators actually. There, you know, a lot of cosplay. Because it's always been a
that's
cheap way to do
become so
it.
big now.
Yeah?
Yeah, and more
Sure.
elaborate. Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what I was doing when I was a kid, cutting foam and doing all that kind of stuff. Is
Right.
basically cosplay before there was cosplay.
Right. Right.
So, you know, the cheap ways of doing it.
So
And it's amazing how effective that stuff looks.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
so,
it can be great. I mean, like anything that we put on camera, you know, I do a lot of commercials too, and it's depends on how it's painted, depends on what it's made like that, and we only have to see it for, you know, if it's a commercial for 15 seconds or
Right.
30 seconds, and you can get away with so much. You
Right.
look at a film prop up close.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
the commercials that
Yeah.
you've worked on, we have a friend of the show, Jordan Brady,
Yes.
who has done a lot of commercials.
Directed commercials.
And I hear that you have a connection with him.
Well, it's interesting that I was listening to one of your last shows, and you know, it's just funny how this town is so small.
Yes,
And you can intersect with people. And I'm listening to, and I didn't remember Jordan's name from back when I worked with him, and I didn't know I had worked with him until he said he directed all of the Eggo waffle commercials. And so I'm listening just a few days ago, and Eggo waffles. Yeah, we did. We went to the best shop in town in Stan Winston Studio, and I was like, oh my god, I made those waffles. And he's talking.
Nice.
He's talking about Chris Swift, who was inside the costumes. And
He's the best waffle.
He's the
player
you
in town.
know, nobody can be a waffle the way Chris Swift.
Well, that's
is
what
a
he was
waffle.
saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and you know, having guys that build this stuff inside of it helps because we
Right. know
know what we can do in it. You know, some people are afraid to move in things. You know,
Right.
am I going to
Right.
break this? Am I going to do this? Can I? It's like, no. We can bend the hell out of it, and we can do this, and you know we can fall on it. So
Right.
I think that's what helps sell those suits a little bit better is having guys inside of it that have built them.
Right.
Sure.
Because
sure.
we're also a bunch of hams anyhow. So
Isn't it interesting
Right,
to go from like demonic toys to waffles?
No, but you worked
There's
on.
no difference whatsoever.
I think that was a Charles Band's sequel. Is going to be Waffles versus Demonic Toys. I'm sure that was planning.
No, but Ted, so you actually made the
Yeah.
waffle suits?
Yeah, the waffle
So how
suits.
did you make that suit?
How did you make it so delicious?
You studied waffles. You,
You know,
ate
and
a lot of
toast them
waffles.
just right. We had a giant toaster. We popped it down in there.
See, I want to believe that.
No, that's how we do it. No. That's how we do it.
Come on.
It's a giant oven. We pour a bunch of stuff in out the other
All
side.
right.
comes
It
the
takes a
waffle.
very special suit actor.
No, they're
Did you
all,
look at a waffle? You look at a waffle. You analyze that waffle.
So a person lies in a big waffle iron.
we bring in a waffle performer. We do a head
A
cast
waffle
on them.
is a waffle performer.
Yeah, and no, they were latex and polyfoam. Wow. And so,
That's
you know, I
amazing.
did the fabrication on the inside so that it could be supported and sit on the shoulders. And like Jordan was talking about, Chris had VR goggles on inside. And we had like a little lipstick camera
Right.
that was poking out the front on a couple of them that they would digitally get rid of.
Right.
And then sometimes they would have VR on and we could get a live feed from the camera. Now, the one thing, too, I've listened on the podcast a couple times. I know you guys have mentioned when you're getting a camera feed, what we always do is we purposely, because I can't remember one of the podcasts I was listening to of you guys, and somebody had mentioned about flipping
Yeah.
the image.
I think that might have been Jordan.
Yeah, the thing was Jordan.
Okay.
So we always want the image flipped if we're puppeteering.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at a monitor. We're seeing what the camera's seeing. So if you're actually looking at yourself and I'm raising my right arm, but on camera, the left side goes up.
Sure, right.
So
That's
it's hard to
confusing.
do. You want a mirror image.
Yes.
I
Right.
see.
So we always ask for the feed to be flipped.
I
so
see.
when I'm raising my right arm, the right arm that I'm in
Yeah,
the monitor
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes
is
sense.
raising, because I mean that's really confusing. And there's times where the video guys go, "Oh, we can't do that. we're not set up for that." And we're like, "Oh crap."
Really?
Yeah. Every now and again, like on a commercial, they're just not set up. You know,
Right, right.
sometimes it's an easy thing to do, but sometimes it's tough. It's just
Wow.
like, you know, it's like, okay, go left, and we're like, oh damn it, I went right.
Right.
Now, when we're talking full body costumes.
Right.
Now, have you ever had a situation where you make the costume and then something happens because you didn't necessarily get to work with the guy who's going to be inside the costume, and then you've got to
Kinda
do
improvise or
some
just-
damage control because that person is either freaked out by having that much on him or
There's
just not
times
that good
where-
of an actor.
There's times where we've jumped into suits where
Really?
somebody on set
Oh, yeah.
will they'll hire a performer because they're a good performance artist. They're a mime, or they're this, or they're that, or it's like they're a dancer or they're a stunt performer or something like that, but they've never worn a suit, and they think, you just put on this thing and it's going to zip up the back and all that. And they get in there and all of a sudden it's like, I can't breathe in here. How can you guys get me some air? Can you take this off of me? It's like, no, man, you're in it.
I'm alone with my thoughts, and I don't like this.
Ted, it's funny because when we had Doug Jones on our show, famous suit performer, and he explained that sometimes some actors they just can't take it. They get claustrophobic. In fact, Jim Carrey. On the Grinch, he had a nervous breakdown. He just got claustrophobic one time.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and I've been in a lot of suits. I've been in a lot of suits in commercials, a couple in features, and I'm not a big tall fellow. I'm an average size guy, but I'm decent on stilts.
Right.
And so I've done a lot of platform work in creature suits and things like that. And you do have to get into a certain headspace.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Where you're inside this bucket all day long. With servos, all around your head, and you've got 20 servos going off, and somebody in your ear, usually a director, going little left, little right, little faster, little slow. All that. It's tough. But then you just get in headspace, and
you find your zen.
You find your zen.
Right.
I had to talk somebody down one time. I'm working on a film called Evolution. David Duchovny.
Oh yeah.
Julian Moore was in that.
Right. Yeah.
It was at Steve Johnson's shop. Well, actually, a bunch of shops. ADI did stuff for that. We did at Steve Johnson's. I think K&B did a bunch of stuff on that. And I was working at Steve's at the time, and we built some really neat organic plant type, just weird set dressing type things. And we were inside of them, operating them. Mm-hmm. And the really cool thing is that they weren't always on us. Actually, they were very seldom on us. So we had a little TV in there, and we had a cooler in there. We were just kind of like, and we'd look at the monitors like, they're nowhere near us. Pop something, and
it's a suit and a van.
Exactly. And it was big. I mean, we could sit in there in stools, and it was really neat because it was all air bladders to inflate things, and I could play this thing like a giant organ. Like I was like this weird Phantom of the Opera inside of this big monster thing.
Nice.
And just push buttons and inflate and deflate. But there was Julianne Moore. Was in that film.
Yes, she was.
And she's got to wear this hazmat suit. Mm-hmm. And they were real hazmat suits. And they zip up the back, and you're in it. And they've got little blowers in it that kind of like bring in fresh air. And it was one of the artists that I knew, makeup artist that was on the film. She said, Ted, you've been in suits before, right? And I said, yeah. And she said, could you come and talk to Julianne? Because she's having a little bit of trouble inside the suit. And
this isn't even like a creature. This is just still.
It's not a creature, but
you've
you've got a plastic shield in front of your face, and you're sealed off from everybody. And everything kind of sounds like this again.
Yeah.
So everybody that's around you talking to you, and you're closed off. You can't touch anybody. And so they just kind of introduced me to her, and I started telling her what I was working on and all that stuff. I said, "How you feeling in there?" She goes, "It's a little bit weird like that." And all of a sudden, I get this, and she's like,
she squeezes your hand.
She squeezes my hand. I'm sorry. Yeah, I reached over and I grabbed Matt's hand.
And he hasn't let go yet. It's fine. It's okay.
But what did she? So
I just started talking to her, and I said, "Yeah, I've done a bunch of suit work." And she goes, "Well, what do you mean suit work?" And I said, "Well, I've been in creature suits before." She says, "Oh, that's got to be terrible." And I said, "No, I kind of like it." I said, "It's kind of fun. You're in your own little space." And I said, "You just kind of get into a sort of a zen place, and you just think about, start thinking about what you're going to do when you get home. It's like in between takes, what are you going to do? I said,
like an isolation tank.
It's you just as long as you don't go like William Hurt, Altered States. No, I just started talking to her about just staying calm and breathing right and all that kind of stuff. And before you know it, she kind of was like, "Oh yeah," like that. And I said, "Well, I'll see you later on," like that. And I walked away, and she's just. Like that. And she was fine. So she
Did
just
you see her later?
I didn't.
You devil.
No, I didn't. But it's
funny because when you're in these suits or you've got a big rubber head on you or something, and you're breathing, and the air is just kind of filling up inside, and then you start to smell the staleness of your own breath, and then all of a sudden there's like
start to smell your own ass.
I don't know about.
I'm not even in a costume, and you're freaking me out.
No. I'm thinking. One of the things about the suits. I want to tell you a story. I used to work at Marriott's Great America. This is back in
Sure, I remember that. Yeah,
and back in the time, they had all the I was really fortunate. I got to work with one of their stage shows, and it was where Bugs Bunny and all the little characters come out. Well, you have all these people who are dancers in these costumes. And what they would do is they perform on stage, and oh, it's so cool. You have all these bright lights, but you didn't know that those headpieces that these people on reeked. They were stinking. I remember going by, and it was weird. At the end of the show, they pull off all their heads, and then they go into this room that was air conditioned. They had constantly thrown cool air in there. And I remember walking by, I want to see the Bugs Bunny. Oh my god! And I went in there, and it was like it just stunk like foul crap.
We
death.
often talk about how much somebody has yacked up a suit.
No,
So
but it's
you
like
peel it off, and it's just horrible.
Think about it, all these great suits, throughout history. You're breathing in there, and it's getting all stinky, and someone might upchuck into something, and it's not something they don't wash it. Hey, let's hose this off every time. Sometimes hey, let's just wipe it out. Okay, you're gonna wear it tomorrow, right? Right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
no,
that's horrible.
We take it off somebody and we spray it out. I did it.
What do you spray it with?
What do you spray with?
It's a material. Well, honestly, if we're in another country and we can't take an antibacterial spray with us,
Oh no.
we buy locally vodka,
Wow.
and we'll put vanilla in it, and then we spritz down the suit with vodka.
And then take a couple swigs before you get in.
We take a couple swigs first because we have to smell that horrible outfit.
Oh my god!
So we
this
use
is-
vodka.
that sounds
This is
terrible.
the thing that people don't know. They don't realize.
It's a physical thing. It's it's
Yeah.
Well,
people,
I mean,
people
you put,
sweat.
You put a rubber mask on, a regular rubber mask,
Sure,
and within
sure.
2 minutes, the thing is
Yeah.
completely filled with
Condensation
sweat
and sweat. And
Yeah.
it's horrible.
And think about that. When I've seen pictures of guys, they have a headband. And it's like,
Yeah.
why do you have the headband? Because they're sweating. And Matt, you're a big sweater. Can you imagine?
You know what?
No,
He's not wrong.
No. We've talked about this. Can you imagine if you've got a rubber suit on? I've envisioned you just having just loads of fluid just spilling out of your forehead, and it's just rising. The liquid's rising in this rubber suit that you're in.
I'd lose a lot of weight, so that's good.
That is true.
I was in a creature suit for it was years ago at Stan Winston's studio. We did a commercial for Chef Boyardee raviolis.
Right.
And so
Were you the ravioli?
I am the ravioli. It's a giant ravioli comes busting through the door.
Are you serious? It's a ravioli?
No, I'm the monster. There's a hairy monster. So this little kid is biking home from school, and little by little, these horns come out of his head, and his hands get all furry.
It's like the hunger monster or something.
It's exactly that. It's the hunger monster.
Right,
So
right.
he's biking home, and in the last shot, as he gets home, he jumps over the fence, and what lands on the other side is me in this giant monster suit.
Does he do battle with the waffle?
Does not do battle. I would have
the
kicked the
ravioli-
waffle's ass.
It's a ravioli.
No, it's not a ravioli. It's a monster. It's a
Well, it's a
furry-
monster.
It's a hunger monster.
It's a hunger
No,
monster.
I thought you were going to fight
No,
the ravioli.
no.
No.
Okay, so you're a hunger monster.
So I'm a hunger monster. So what the hunger monster does is tear apart the kitchen and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and looking for raviolis, and pops the can, puts it in the microwave, and eats it, and turns back into a little kid.
Oh,
Okay.
So we shot 2 days on that commercial. I lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25 pounds
long
of water.
hours.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh my
What did the
gosh.
monster look like? Was he rubbery? Was
Gray,
he
fuzzy, big horns. He was wearing a T-shirt, had a backpack on.
Yeah.
I think I vaguely remember this.
Very,
Me too,
Yeah.
A little bit reminiscent of sort of like a Where the Wild Things Are
Okay. Yeah.
type creature.
Cool.
And that animatronic head was about 25 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And they had me jump off a 3-foot tall platform
Jeez.
over the camera.
Without breaking your back.
The first time I did it, there was just a crunch. And it was the whole weight of it just coming down on my head and smashing my head. And then I went running across the backyard. And they're going, great, we're going to do it again. I said, we got to do something different.
Gosh. Wow.
But it was always thinking, yeah, great, let's do it again.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Always.
Oh my gosh.
Do you get you? So let's say you helped design the suit, make the suit, but now you're going to be in it. Do they throw a few bucks at you, or is it like, hey, can we save a few money by having the guy?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, in the old days, yeah. But I mean, when we're lucky enough to be in a suit, it's nice. You do benefit from
'Cause it's performing. It's an extra,
being
yeah.
in the Screen Actors
So you get a
Guild,
few bucks
Right,
for
right.
that. Okay.
Get
Right.
residuals on the commercials.
So you have a hunger monster on your resume.
Yes, Hunger Monster.
That's
I was
cool.
one of the rats in the Orc and Rat commercials.
Oh, nice.
We did this campaign at I think it started at Stan's, but then after Stan Winston passed away, the shop kind of changed hands and turned into Legacy Effects.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's what it is today.
It's the same, yeah, and it's the same group of guys. John Rosengrant Shane Mahan, Alan Scott, Lindsey McGowan. And so those were the 4 coordinators at Stan Winston's studio. And then after Stan passed away, those guys started Legacy Effects.
Okay.
And Legacy's coming up on its 10-year anniversary.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was with Stan for 4 years, and I've been with Legacy for 10. But it's the same group of people. You know,
Right,
they,
nice.
You know, they worked on the original Terminator and original Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, all that kind
Pumpkinhead.
of stuff. Pumpkinhead, yeah.
I always liked that suit monster.
Oh, I love
That's
that
a
one.
great
Yeah.
suit monster.
And I worked at K&B for a good number of years too. I was at K&B for 5 years.
Nice.
And they had done a Pumpkinhead as well.
Oh, they're because they made sequels too,
So
right?
there was 2 that I know of. I know Stan did
Like blood wings.
something.
There were a lot
Blood
of
Wings,
Pumpkinhead
something
2
like
blood
that, yeah.
wings, I think. Yeah.
So yeah, I spent a good long time at K&B. Yeah, so I went. You know, I don't know. If you
So
want to
so
go
yeah,
back
from
a little bit. I'm sorry.
from Full Moon.
Full Moon Alchemy Effects. I get a call from, or actually Mike Deek, who was running Alchemy, got a call from Howard Berger over at K&B and said, "You got anybody over there that can fabricate that you can spare for 2 weeks?" So I go over there and work on
Is it Wishmaster?
no Wyatt Earp
Oh,
okay, okay.
with Kevin Costner.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Why? I don't remember monsters.
Yeah, remember the big
in Wyatt
monster?
There's no
Earp.
monster.
There's dragons
that's
in
the
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, there's like
I
Terminator
worked-
endoskeletons fighting the
It's a
big
dream
cowboys.
sequence.
It's
Yeah.
the
In
hell
Doc Holliday's mind.
the mechanical hell buffaloes that go charging out of the west. And no, I fabricated a dead deer that you see on
Oh,
Wyatt,
wow.
the back
Okay.
of Wyatt's horse.
Oh, wow,
So I was
okay.
brought in for 2 weeks, and then 5 years later, I went to Steve Johnson's. Because that's what it always is. They bring you in for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then you're there for years, or at least I was. I
Right.
was lucky enough. So I was there through, obviously, that little Wyatt Earp stint, and I worked on In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's a lot of cool creature effects
Oh, yeah.
in that.
I worked on the big, what we called the parade float.
Yes.
It was all foam fabbed.
The behind the scenes of that is so
Yeah.
cool to see because you see it fleetingly in the film.
Yeah.
Like it's a wall of monsters basically. So cool.
That was so fun to build.
That's awesome.
And they just let me go crazy with the foam fab on that.
What was that? What was the Carpenter like on the set?
I wasn't on set with that one.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, there was a lot of
I'm just
stuff.
curious.
Where I was.
Yeah.
I did. I got to meet John because we. What did we do at K&B? It was also the Vampires, I think it was called.
okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
With James Woods.
Yep. Yep.
And so we worked on that, and I actually got to meet John in a production meeting. With that, we had to go over all these different things. So John was fantastic.
Cool. Cool.
I'm really happy to say I have met very, very, very few jerky people in this industry.
Oh,
been
that's
doing it
good.
for 30 years. And I mean, I could probably pick out 1 or 2, and they're not big stars. I've met huge stars and huge directors.
Right.
Can't tell you how nice they've all been.
That's awesome.
Really. I
Cool.
mean, it's,
Usually, I'm assuming that if they know that you're the real deal and you're a professional,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
you're good
there's
at what
that
you
level
do.
of respect.
Yeah, you're the suit guy. You're
I was
Mr.
I was
Foam
just-
Fabricator.
I was Mr.
dude.
Suit Guy on a film called Jingle All the Way that we did at K&B.
Oh, yeah.
So we
Arnold
built
Schwarzenegger.
Arnold's Turbo Man suit.
Oh, my
and I was
God.
Arnold's dresser for
Oh, that's amazing.
a month and a half or so.
Wow.
I got nicest guy ever.
Cool.
I
That's
loved
awesome.
Arnold. He was
like,
so cool.
So like for Steve Johnson effects, like what are some other kind of films that you did?
Steve, when I started at Steve's, I started there on a film called Monkey Bone.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of my foam fab skills are doing a lot of prototyping. And all the foam I use is like upholstery foam, or another foam called L200, which is a closed cell foam. It's kind of like the foam mats that you can buy at like
Oh, yeah.
Home Depot, or
Oh,
like,
is
like
it?
kids
Yeah.
play on. It's very similar, like a dense foam like that. So I
Right.
would do tons of prototypes for all the different creatures, and we would do a proof of concept to see how the centaur is going to work, or how this giant head thing is going to work, or and then once those are proven that we can do it this way, or they can be that large, then we go into building the actual thing, and then I'll build the real thing as well. So the understructure, and that's what I do basically, is like muscle suits and fat suits and things like that. Like I said, I aspired to come out here to be a makeup artist, but really quick at John Beekler's shop, when we were working on one of these super low budget films, and there was a certain baby doll that we did this thing, and they needed a different color, the outfit that's on the baby doll. And I said, well, why don't we just pick it apart with a seam ripper, and we can lay it out, make a pattern, get the fabric that we want, we can just sew it back together. And then John Beekler looked at me and goes, can you sew? And I was like, yeah. Because
you have to do
like you
it.
said,
you have to do everything.
You have
when
to-
I was
right.
home, I was sculpting it, molding it. I was making costumes for everything I was building. So I knew how to sew. And I said, yeah, I know how to use a sewing machine. I was making puppets, too, when I was a little kid. I showed
So they were like, "Can you know how to make coffee? Can you make coffee for us too?"
No, that's what they ask us.
Yeah, right.
So yeah,
I can make a
that's-
good pot of coffee.
My makeup career just kind of dwindled, and then my fabrication career
Right.
just exploded.
Right.
And so yeah, when I went over to Steve's, we're doing Monkey Bone. We were simultaneously working on Bicentennial Man with Robin
Oh yeah.
Williams.
Oh yeah.
That's
So, I mean-
incredible, that suit.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really amazing, and some incredible mechanical engineering that went into that whole suit.
Right.
What did we go into? And Steve's was just a whirlwind of stuff. We'd worked on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Cat in the Hat, Scooby-Doo 2, Spider-Man 2. We did Doc Ock Tentacles.
Ah, nice.
So,
Wow.
and geez, it seemed like Doc Ock went on for almost a year. You know,
I can imagine.
from the very beginning of that job, prototyping tentacles, building foam tentacles, testing whether or not that would work. I mean, there's so much practical work on that film, just puppeteering those tentacles all over set.
Right.
So working at Steve's and work on Blade 2 at Steve's.
My favorite of those films.
Yeah, I like that
Mine
one.
too.
Yeah.
I love
that's-
Blade 2.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
This is 2018. It's like there's CGI, motion capture, but like there still seems like there's a place for suit
absolutely.
work, and it seems
Yeah.
like there's maybe even like it's kind of almost coming back to a point.
I think so too. I mean, people are getting more savvy to the digital
right.
and just they know it's not there. It's not real. It's
Yeah.
they want to see something
Your
like
eye always recognizes.
Yeah.
Or a combination of both. Like I said, when it's a combination.
and That's what I've talked to visual effects guys on set all the time, and we always try to push that a little bit. And I just did this film that's coming out in October. It's Goosebumps 2. that we did
yeah.
over at Legacy Effects, and I was in a couple of creature suits for that. And one of them is really neat. There's this character. I don't know if I can talk about it or not. I'll just tell you the idea of it's a big creature, but my arms are sticking out of what would be basically the rib cage. And I'm puppeteering the arms, but my arms are all covered in green screen, and then the rods puppeteering the hands are all green
Yeah,
screen.
like that's a good
So,
example of like
exactly. I'm wearing the suit, but it's moving, and you can tell it's a three-dimensional suit, but yet the arms are waving around, and there's
Right.
clearly not a guy that's 8 feet tall, and so
Right.
that's the kind of fun. And at Stan's, when we did a movie called Zathura, it was sort of
sure.
Zathura,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
follow up to
my wife
Jumanji.
loves that film.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
Jon Favreau.
Yeah,
that's a
Jon
good. That's,
Favreau
a,
directed
that's a
it.
fun movie.
And same thing, we had the robot.
Oh,
that
the
kind
robot's
of-
awesome.
Yeah.
And that we built that whole robot, so it was a guy.
There was a guy in it.
Oh yeah, from the waist up, the full suit.
Yeah.
Sometimes we took the arms off, and they would digitally replace the arms. And most of the time, it was the actual guy in the suit, and then he would wear the feet. And so the whole from the waist down was digital, except for the feet, and they always married the suit to the feet.
Interesting.
And that's why it looked like that suit.
And that's why
moved
the
so well.
actors can interact well with
Absolutely.
it. I mean, yeah.
There's nothing like having a physical presence that you can relate to and that's tactile. I'm happy to hear that kind of thing is coming
No,
back.
there's so many things. I'm working on something now that I can't tell you anything about, other than the fact that the character that we're building is utilizing that, where you've got a performer where his legs are going to be green screened, his arms are going to be green screened, and then the creature is sort of around them, and they're puppeteering, so their legs are connected to the. And,
Interesting.
And so once you remove the performer from it, it's an actual three-dimensional creature there that they're going to augment digitally as well, moving
Right.
different parts of the character. And it's going to be this perfect marriage. You're going to see that it's there, it's physical, it's interacting with people, it's interacting with the set.
Right.
But your eye's going to, there's a trick, there's a magic trick there. Because
Right,
once
right.
you take the green away, once you take the performer of that costume away, it's still there, but you're not sure how it's moving.
And is that kind of a newer trend when it comes to
They're
this type of work?
Yeah,
is
because they're
mixing.
learning. It's like what we started doing, in commercials a lot too, where we do just tons of rod removal. We'll have a neat puppet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it used to be all these bundles of cables had to go down
Right.
through
Yes.
the set, and then your character
Right.
couldn't walk around or
Right.
could walk like the original Chucky.
Yeah.
He could walk around
Right.
corners,
Yes.
but only so far.
Right.
Right.
And then they would do forced perspective stuff or whatever like that. Well, nowadays we wouldn't care if we were building a Chucky film. We would just put a green screen sock on the tube
Right.
with all of the cables coming off it, and you'd have the puppeteer standing right behind it in green screen costumes, just walking them right down the hallway.
That's
And you
cool.
wouldn't care. You could go everywhere you want. And so, we do that at Legacy, and then we did it at Stan Winston Studios with the Affleck duck. We do the Affleck duck.
I was
okay.
Wait,
I was
that's not
in an Affleck commercial.
Were you really?
Yes.
So that's
So
not a
did
real
you work with the duck?
I worked with the duck, yes.
With the mechanical duck or the real duck?
Well, they brought a real duck.
Okay, so there is a real.
There
duck.
is a real duck, but
yeah.
they almost never use that duck.
Right.
It was a puppet.
Yeah.
And
That's
I'm
awesome.
and I'm driving the world's most dangerous mail truck. Like they got the last working mail truck from a defunct mail company, and I have to drive this down city streets
Right.
that they've only temporarily blocked off. And I'm supposed to be also, while I'm driving this death machine, I'm trying to interact with the duck and like, hey, duck, get away from me. I don't even know what my lines were, but it was surreal. But the duck looked great.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that puppet I think looked more realistic than the real duck.
It may have. It's got a lot more character.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do rod removal with that. So we've got green rods on the wings, green rods on the head.
Right, right.
And we can have guys completely dressed in green standing right next to it, and they're just moving it.
Right, right.
So back in the day, you couldn't do that.
Right,
You had to
right.
have a huge
That's
button.
amazing.
Now it's just like, yeah, we're standing right there and just green rods.
so-
You know,
cool.
it is so nice to hear that. Costume suit stuff, it hasn't gone away, and in fact, they've tried to find a nice marriage
there's
between the two.
there's also just a charm to it. I mean, going all the way back to Creature from the Black Lagoon or all the Paul Blaisdell monsters like from Hell It Came and the She Creature and all that stuff. And those are full on costumes. And like the movies may be low budget and cheesy and sometimes really stupid, but there's something so fun and charming about those monsters.
Shape of Water. Can you
Yeah.
imagine what that would have
Yeah,
been if that
exactly.
had been completely CGI?
Right,
No.
right.
We were so happy. I mean, we worked on that at Legacy.
Did
So-
you really?
Yeah.
What did you do?
That's awesome.
We built the fish suit.
Yeah,
Wow.
You built the
Amphibian
whole-
man?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
So,
So,
I
so
mean-
you worked with Doug Jones?
Yeah, we worked with
then?
Doug. I've worked with
Oh.
Doug several times.
Really?
Different commercials or TV shows.
That's
or
awesome.
Features and things like that. So I mean, yeah, we did the fish suit at Legacy Effects, and
It's beautiful.
yeah, the
It's-
makeup
it
and
is. It's
everything.
so stunning.
You know, the
Suit.
great thing too that they did digitally, where they could do the nice digital eye blinks.
Yes.
and they could do some neat subtle things with gills and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And there was a
accentuate
nice,
stuff.
Nice
Yes.
accentuate, and I think that's the perfect marriage that
Yep.
we got to learn to. It's all about pre-production and giving us
Right,
enough
right.
time to build something really cool. And I think we, definitely hit it out of the park. Legacy did with, and I'll just tell you, I barely got to touch Shape of Water because we're so busy. We're doing Marvel films, we're doing commercials.
Yeah.
Wow.
We did Shape of Water. So there's a lot of things I get to watch happen there while I'm building other things
still,
for
though,
other
but
films.
yeah.
And it's a fun spectator sport at times. It's
Yeah.
like, what's going on down there?
Because you're a fan too.
Yeah,
Right,
It's like,
right.
look at that
Well, I mean,
new
it's-
Iron Man suit going on down there. That's kind of
So you
Awesome.
have made a lot of amazing suits. Is
Right.
there anything from history that you look at that is a great suit that you love?
Yeah, like you grew up,
You
some
admire.
older films that,
suit wise, because I was so savvy to people in suits. I mean, originally C-3PO.
Okay.
That is a great suit.
that is a great
Just an
suit.
amazing suit. Just figuring out how that worked and just like how do you get into the neck? How
Mm-hmm.
did the shoulders work? That kind of stuff.
And Chewbacca is another great
Chewbacca was
one.
another
Yeah.
great suit.
Oh,
but
with Peter Mayhew
Peter
in it.
Mayhew.
and-
But honestly, any guy in a monkey suit when I was a kid, if it was on Gilligan's Island or if it was
Right,
like
Bob
the
Burns.
great
or,
Bob Burns.
yeah, Bob
Sure,
Burns, or
yeah.
something, any guy in a monkey suit was great for me. Like
My wife got me a gorilla suit for my 50th birthday. Or, I'm sorry, my 40th.
When are you going to
birthday.
take it off?
You know,
I'll never be invited back.
No, I set him up. You knock him out.
Now, I just want to ask because we didn't really touch base on this, but did you work on any Muppet stuff? Because I love Muppets are great, but there are some giant Muppets
Right.
that it's like a whole suit.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. I did work on the new Muppet movie.
Right,
that
the Muppets from 2011.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We did a few gags in that. We built at Legacy Effects. We built the little robot character, 80s robot, I think his name was.
Oh yeah, right,
And
right.
so we didn't get to build any Muppets per se,
Right.
but it was 80s robot because it was
That's
it was
great.
RC and
Right.
radio controlled. So we built that.
Two of the greatest suits that I think, and as a kid, I was just blown away by it, and that was Big Bird.
Oh, Big Bird.
Yeah,
is
it
amazing.
was.
A
I
Big
mean-
Bird,
Snuffleupagus.
Well, yeah,
one of my
but
favorites.
Carol Spinney, who
Yeah.
had played Big Bird for ages. I mean, here you have the Big Bird, and how's he talking? And he's moving both of his hands, and he's got the big long legs. And as a kid, I was just mesmerized. I mean, there are times when it's just a real big bird, and I loved it. But it was actually a very tricky thing where that head, it's like he actually has his arm sticking up into the head.
Right.
And so it's like Big Bird's talking, blah, 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 and his hand is up over his head all the time.
Right.
And then he's got his left hand in his arm, and then the right arm of Big Bird, it's attached to a string.
Right.
So it's like when you move, spoiler alert, people. So
Big Bird's not real.
So when he moves his left hand up or down, the right one will go do the opposite because there was this wire or something, and I had no idea as a kid. It was like
It's really
magical
ingenious.
to me.
I have to say this though about Big Bird, and it's kind of sad because the Kids in the Hall kind of ruined Big Bird for me. Because I don't know if you watch Kids in the Hall, but they have a character called the Chicken Lady.
No.
Oh
The
yeah.
Chicken Lady
Right.
will put classified ads in the paper to lure men. Because she's
Oh,
a
yeah,
chicken
right.
lady and she can't get laid. And then the guys show up and it's a chicken lady. It's half chicken,
real.
half lady. And it's this grotesque character that walks like a chicken and all of a sudden in the middle of a conversation will just start biting at some worms. And chicken lady loves life. And every time I see Big Bird now, I just think of the chicken lady.
Well,
Who's the other big monster guy? The big
That's
monster
Sweetums.
face.
I love those.
Sweetums.
Yeah, those
That guy's great.
monsters.
Now,
are
Sweetums
really
By
good.
far, he's my favorite.
Now,
honestly.
Yeah,
Sweetums,
yeah.
Sweetums, for people who don't know, he looks like a giant
guy,
troll. And
yeah.
he was first seen in they did the Frog Prince. And that's when you first see Sweetums.
Okay.
And he has this great song, Sweetums want the froggy now.
Yeah.
Remember this, James?
It's going way back to like 1972.
Yeah, I mean,
the
I
soundtrack.
watched this.
I did.
No, not only soundtrack, it was on TV.
Right.
And I remember loving this. And Sweetums, how did he have these two big arms and this giant mouth? I mean, it was bigger than Big
Yeah,
Bird.
oh, yeah, totally.
And he was very popular.
Yeah, it
And
was
they-
cool.
I mean, the Henson guys did a fantastic job. Yes, they do great with all the hand puppet stuff, but this was a full-on suit. Can you imagine how bad Sweetums would smell inside? though?
Probably pretty ripe.
Pretty right.
Sweatums.
Sweatums. Hey.
He'll be
And then there was the famous Snuffleupagus, which is actually
Right.
two guys.
Right, right.
And he would always
It's like
run
a
into
really
Big Bird.
elaborate pantomime horse, kind of.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Now that's got to be the worst job.
Yes.
To be the
front
back
end or back end.
Yeah,
Right.
it's human centipede time.
yeah. But it's like for me, like I'm always impressed by monster suits that don't look that much like a humanoid form. You know, like, even like when you talk about the Godzilla films, like to me, like Ghidorah. Is like you just think about it as a man in suit creation. It's an amazing suit.
It is.
It's an amazing design. Like and this is back in the '60s. I mean, there's 3 long dragon heads, 2 tails, and this guy's in this suit, and they're moving the wings and everything. Like that's incredible.
I don't know how those guys did it. 'Cause I mean, just knowing how we build stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how they did it then,
Yes.
it was so much heavier.
Oh my-
And
oh
just
my gosh.
the materials they're
Yeah.
using and the
Thick
toxicity
rubber.
of it. And
Well, the
Haruo
Haruo
Nakajima, who did Godzilla
and
for
many of the
over
other-
16 films or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
this.
and many other monsters.
And many other monsters, but he was in that suit and where you couldn't breathe very well and you
There's
actually
fire
have little
explosions all around
and
you.
Fire.
I can tell you one of my favorite suits. It just hold on a second. I reached down into my bag here.
Ted is reaching down.
There we
to grab
go. He
something,
reaches
right?
down
yeah.
and he produces.
Oh my gosh! It's the Bionic Bigfoot from $6 Million Man.
Wow. And
The $6 Million Man. These are the Kenner. Was it Kenner?
Yes, yes.
Kenner figure.
Oh.
Nice.
So
He's
With
got
breakaway chest to reveal the bionic parts.
listeners. Ted has the
Those are my
$6 Million Man,
Nice.
which, as if you listen to previous episodes, you know it has a design flaw. But then also the Bionic Bigfoot, which I absolutely love.
Was it Ted
Yeah, that's
Cassidy?
great.
Was
Ted
it Ted
Cassidy.
Cassidy who played him?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
looks just like him.
And this and so this I love this episode.
Yeah, it was
of
the
the
big
$6 Million
episode.
Man.
I can't tell you how afraid I am to go back and watch the 6 million. I haven't seen it in decades because I'm just afraid it is going to suck so bad, and I'm just going to hold on to these images.
Go right to the Bigfoot episode.
Right.
It's funny you should say that because as a kid, this was in the 70s, and we've talked about this on other episodes. I was a huge Bigfoot fan.
Well, it was the perfect storm of that was the Bigfoot craze.
Yeah.
You know, 6 Million $1 Man was a huge hit.
Yes.
So of course,
A robot Bigfoot.
Yeah,
That's
everything.
That's pretty
Everything
great.
It was the
possibly
coolest Bigfoot out there. I mean, I couldn't get enough Bigfoot. You know,
I love it. Everything. Yeah, I think that's early on what might have sparked me a little bit because we all grew up watching the Patterson Bigfoot footage.
Oh
of,
yeah,
Sure.
We did a paranormal episode. We talked about all that stuff.
And I
was fascinated by that.
I've done a bunch of tutorials for the Stan Winston School. That his son Matt Winston runs a school, and I was trying to pitch him one time. I said, you know what, let's do a Bigfoot suit, and I said, but I don't want to do a nice because I've done the Jack's Links commercials with the Bigfoot.
those are great. That's a great Bigfoot.
I've built all of those suits.
You built those suits?
Yeah,
Nice.
And so the other suits. If there's a Bigfoot in a commercial, more than likely I've built it recently in the last 10 years or 15 years. So I do all these, and I said, I don't want to do one like that. I want to build a Patterson Bigfoot.
Yeah, nobody's ever really
exactly
like that film.
And I said, I want to use the materials that they had to work with at the time.
The materials that the Patterson people probably used when they made the fake
Bigfoot
costume.
talking about John Chambers might have worked on it. Yeah. I've heard lots of rumors the 30 years I've been out here working and stuff that so-and-so might have done this.
I still wonder both ways.
I
want to believe. I've
got it on
that's
halfway
real.
decent authority, and I just don't want to say any names right now, but that it was definitely a guy in a suit. So
Wait a minute.
What the?
I know. I don't want to think that.
I'm trying to talk
burst my bubble.
I know. I'm trying to talk Matt Winston into letting me do this. And he goes, so wait a minute. You want to do a tutorial showing people how to build basically a crappy Bigfoot suit from the 1960s. And I said, yeah. And he goes, no, we're going to do a good one. It's like, all right, I'll do a good one. But it's still a dream of mine to build a Patterson Bigfoot and still, take a 16 millimeter out and it's like, see, it's doable.
Now, I do love Bigfoot.
Yes.
But I prefer Yeti. I love Yetis.
Okay, Yetis are more dangerous.
They seem a little more
somehow.
formidable.
Yeah.
It's like the Wampa,
Yes.
I
Right.
Lovely Wampa.
that I think is terrifying.
Yes.
Right.
And in fairness, I love this toy that you brought. Not to jump off Wampa, but this Bigfoot from the $6 Million Man. It's really makeup on his face, and he's wearing a furry suit. He's not really full on suit like the Wampa or the Yeti.
Right.
Yes.
I love those shots of the behind the scenes of the Wampa from Empire, where they've got number one a huge guy wearing stilts.
Yeah.
Walking through snow. And it's like,
the guy can't.
Whatever made you think that was going to work?
And the guy can't stand. He walks, and then he falls over. It's like, of course he's going to walk.
Walking workers' comp.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Right. Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I love all those suits. And now these are good suits. These are the suits that are, somebody took some time and got very meticulous.
R&D.
Again, when it's something where it looks otherworldly, or even H.R. Giger, the original Alien, it was pretty much a straightforward man in suit, but the design of the head and the way the actor moved and the way they shot it, and you get to something like Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead was just a really cool design, full on suit, practical, which looked great. I mean, Predator, Species, there's a lot of just full-on monsters that are
Predator.
That are great monster suits.
For all those really high-end monster suits,
right.
I still have a soft spot in my heart for every Ultraman monster, every kaiju.
Sure.
Every time I see that zipper, it gives me a little smile. And I also, you also got to realize too, when you're making a show where it's every week and you got to put that monster suit together. And you take apart the other two monsters and make a new one and add a new head.
Right. Well, think about...
And some of those designs are brilliant, I think.
Well, think about one of our favorite guilty pleasure movies, the suits, The Green Slime.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those suits are awesome.
I love
Evil
that
Sigmund the
suit.
Sea Monsters.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Sigmund and Sea Monster is great.
That's a great
Ted-
suit.
Yeah, totally. All the
Ted,
cross
is there-
stuff.
All the cross
Is
stuff.
there any,
was
like,
great.
let's say, not such a great suit from the past that you love? That
The ones that you felt like
guilty pleasure.
Yeah, or they just did wrong.
Suits. Oh boy.
Like-
No, love them all.
Like even if
that's good.
like
That's good.
Yeah,
HR Puffin stuff, for example.
I mean,
you know?
you remember them differently. It's hard
Yeah.
to
Right,
go
right.
back and look at those suits. And I mean, like Sigmund, I haven't really looked at in a long time, but I remember what I think it looked like.
Yeah.
And it was great.
You know, there's a new Sigmund and the Sea Monsters TV series. It's on Netflix.
Oh, is it?
And it's done very much in the style of the old
Oh, really?
Sigmund. And
It's on now?
It's on now. And the Sigmund looks almost exactly the same.
Oh, wow.
It's actually pretty good. It's for kids, but it's done very faithfully.
But see, and that's another thing too, is that you got to know your audience because
Sure.
you can't judge Sigmund and the Sea Monster or H.R. Puffin stuff,
Right.
from realism,
Right,
a
of
giant
course.
dinosaur,
Right.
or a dragon walking around through
Right.
Living Island.
It depends
If it were done
on-
realistically,
Right.
him singing a song, it wouldn't be quite the same.
Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, Shape of Water, it's almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Both these
It's crossover.
creatures that want to be loved. And
Yeah, right. It's like
true.
It's maybe Sigmund grew up to be.
That's right.
Oh, my
But like you look at it depends on the world you're presented with, like the Kyoto Brothers with Killer Clowns.
yeah.
Totally out there, bizarre concept, but those full-on costumes are really cool.
They finally everyone does something with the evil clown, which
Right.
has been beaten to death.
Sure.
And what I loved about what the Kyoto Brothers did is really make it something new and original,
Right.
and scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Frank Henenlotter with the Basket Case movies, especially the second Basket Case.
Would that be considered? Well, yes, because there's more suits.
Yeah, in the
'Cause
first
would that be
one it's
considered
more a
of a
puppet, but
Yeah.
he's also a guy with the face. But like then, in the second one is there's like a whole family of freaks.
Yeah. I
bizarre,
love that one. That's a
crazy,
great one.
insane
You ever see
costumes.
that one?
Which one?
Basket
The
Case
second
2.
basket case.
Yeah, and there's a sequel to Basket Case 3, which is just as bizarre. But like those kind of things are just really elaborate, full-on, bizarre, non-humanoid kind of costumes.
Like Dr. Pretorius and From Beyond.
Fantastic.
That's another great one.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all great creatures you have a great suit, but one of my favorite suits, actually, it's not a creature, it's a mechanical being, and that would be Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet.
Oh, yeah.
People
Sure.
forgot
That's a suit.
that is a whole
absolutely. It's a
suit.
and still a design that holds up beautifully today.
There were these two guys, two stuntmen, basically, Frankie Darrow and Frankie Carpenter. Both guys were at one time in the suit. And the thing is, that Robbie the Robot, if you look at that film, I mean, you've got mechanical stuff going in, and this isn't like, hey, let's just, we'll do it remote control. No. This is back in the 50s where, they had servers and like power cords and stuff, and it's really electrical inside there, but it's really, really heavy.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
one story that I had heard, though, was like one of the stunt guys, when he came in, he apparently had a really big night the night before, and he had a huge hangover, and he gets in the costume, and the amount of money that was spent on this was a lot.
Sure.
I mean, it's almost like $1 million.
That's their
And
budget there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And they get in the suit, and Robbie kind of walks out, and then he's so top heavy that he started to lean forward and started to fall. He was actually caught, and so they switched out the guys. And go, you need to take a little break. So
It's lucky that Robbie can make his own booze.
That's right.
Little hair of the dog.
Yeah,
It's
Fix
just
him
a
up.
walking still, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he is such a great robot. But then
He's a great robot. And you were talking about all the servos and everything. I went to a Turner Classic Movies showing of Forbidden Planet, and they had
Nice.
the original Robbie costume there.
Nice.
And it was incredible how loud.
Yeah.
Like I could
All right.
hear everything moving from 50 feet away.
Wow.
Very loud.
I think all the scenes with Robbie had to
That's
be
usually-
redubbed,
yeah.
because
The
he's-
trouble that we have with any of the puppets on set, or even the animatronic heads that we have, is you always have the sound guy that's like holding his headphones. And he's like, shh, everybody, what is that? And it's like it's the servos. Because we'll have 20, 30 servos
Yeah.
just
Oh my gosh.
buzzing and zipping like that.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do about that? It's like we can turn them all off, and then nothing
We could cancel the whole movie.
We could just cancel everything, and the puppet won't move and it won't smile or blink, and we can turn it all off.
Have they gotten any quieter over the years?
They have actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got some
All right.
servos we're working with right now that are just like passing through air.
like butter.
Right.
Butter servos.
Ted, out of all the fabrications you've done, was there one that sort of stands out in your memory as being the most satisfying?
You know, geez, I got to tell you, it's the hardest question ever. And I always go back
Nice
to
one,
something.
James.
Yeah, thanks, James.
No. It's just
Moving on.
I've built a lot of really cool, a lot of really fun things. I mean, and the great thing is about the commercials too that I do is that everything is a different challenge. So
Right.
we're doing the same thing. It's okay. It's another suit. Or even if I have to do another Bigfoot suit, it's like, well, I've got to make it different than the last one. The hair's got to be different. The face is different.
It's going to have 2 heads this time.
2 heads. But there's one that I go back to, and I don't think you'd call it a suit, but it's a mechanical. There was guys inside of it, but we built a squid at Stan Winston's for a Capital One credit card commercial.
I know this one.
You know it?
Yes.
So-
a squid?
A giant squid. So we built basically out of styrofoam was the squid, sculpted it, carved it down, fiberglassed over the top of it, pulled all the foam out. So we were inside, and I fabricated this giant eyeball because you only see it from one side, and then fabricated all these tentacles that are out. And I mean, this is a full-size giant squid, very 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They built a conning tower and Nautilus type thing, was in the tank at Paramount Studios, which is typically a parking lot, but then they make everybody park somewhere else.
Right, right.
Yes.
They fill up the tank, 5 feet of water.
Yeah.
And we put our squid in there, the tentacles. They've got them hung by cables. They're puppeteering. We're down in the water in wetsuits, puppeteering the squid tentacles that are along the fuselage or the structure, the submarine structure. Wind machines, rain machines, and it's just like, and I'd been doing this for years at this point now. I'd been in at least like 15 years, I think, at this point. And I'm standing there in the middle of Paramount going, this is the tank that they crashed, the Klingon bird of prey in.
That's right.
Yeah, this is the tank
Trek
where they...
4.
Yeah, Star Trek 4. And it's like, this is the tank.
John.
And I'm sitting there with the rain coming down and the beautifully lit Paramount Tower is right up here. And there's, they've got guys with wave runners, making all the waves. And like I said, the wind machines. And I'm just going, this is so satisfying. It's like, I've worked on huge films and creature suits and, done all this. It's like, I'm standing in the middle of the Paramount tank puppeteering a giant squid.
Right.
It just
Doesn't get any better than that.
It doesn't
Living the
get much
dream.
better than that. It is.
Yeah.
It is the dream. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have been sitting in Wisconsin working at a bank.
Yeah.
if you didn't
I
get
could
out
have been
here.
at the paper mill. I could
Right.
have been,
Eating
whatever.
cheese.
Yeah.
Oh, eating cheese.
We can still do that.
we could eat
Yeah,
cheese.
you
But
can
it's
get
true.
cheese
Though.
here.
It's like,
But I gotta tell you,
nowhere
that's-
else.
It wasn't a suit. I mean, technically, there was 3 guys inside of it. Kind of moving it up and down and moving the eyeball. And
But still,
I'd say it's a suit.
Yeah.
sort of. But honestly, it's one of the more pleasing things. And the Chef Boyardee commercial was a fun suit to build, and we had a lot of time to build it. We had 4 weeks to build that.
Wow.
So fully animatronic head, a creature suit, foam fabbed suit, all the hair suit. We had a good crew on that too. So,
You don't usually have that kind of time. Usually turnarounds pretty quick.
we just did a commercial. I shot a commercial in Vancouver just last weekend, and we had 1 week.
Wow.
I mean, 1 week when not 7 days. We had 1 week, like work week. It was like 5 days.
Wow.
Full animatronic head, fur on it, props, prop chair, all this kind of stuff, and took it up to Vancouver and shot with it for 3 hours.
Wow.
For one commercial.
Wow.
So
How about like a dream gig? Like the one thing, if you could work on this, it would throw you over the edge of how happy you could be.
Star Wars.
Sure.
We'll talk to some people.
Yeah, just keep my fingers crossed that someday it'll cross my desk.
Any particular kind of character, or doesn't matter?
I don't care.
You don't care.
Making Han Solo's underwear. I don't care. No, I mean, let me build some stormtroopers. Let me build a Wookiee.
Right. Yak face.
Yeah, yak face. Hammerhead. Like
Hammerhead.
Build another hammerhead. or something.
we haven't seen enough Hammer. I would love to see
Hammerhead is a great design.
Talk
It is-
about
Yeah.
spin-off.
No,
there we
totally.
go.
Yeah, really.
hell
Hammerhead
was
was one of
Solo?
those designs when you're watching the first Star Wars, where it's like you kind of go, whoa, what's
It sticks
that?
out. It's
Right,
different.
right.
It's
It's so different.
It's
So
alien, and
right.
the little action figure that I have is fantastic.
Yes, it is.
And I imagine because what's great is the eyes that they put. He's not looking straight ahead. He's looking to the left.
Looking
so
over.
he's always like, oh, what's going on over there? He's always a little shifty.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about
But
that action
that's what I
figure.
like about doing creature suits similar to Hammerhead, because and I think that's why it pops out in that film. Is
Yeah,
that
it's not-
Where's the actor?
Right. That's
You know,
what I
it's like,
love.
No,
you know.
the eyes are up here
Yeah.
and the head swoops out, and it's
That's
like,
cool to
where's
me.
the performer in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to do when I have to build a suit from scratch. Even if I'm being handed a design, it's like I want to try to put the performer in there, because no matter what, it's a person.
Right.
Two arms, two legs. You know,
Right. How do you
put
mask
a
that?
person-
How do you
exactly?
Speaking of squid, it reminds me of again going back to Toho films. Yog has this this
love
crazy,
that
bizarre,
costume.
upright walking squid called Gazora.
Yeah.
and it's just like it's the tentacles are walking on land. It's
Once
so
again,
bizarre.
evil Sigmund.
Yeah, but it's not anything humanoid looking, and there's a guy in there. I mean, it's just so strange. It's
Although you can-
visually arresting.
You can see the legs though.
well, yeah.
Whoa,
but
wait a minute,
kind
wait a
of,
minute,
but, like,
wait a
it's
minute.
Still,
You're-
You can see the
the
human
design of
leg.
it.
No.
The design's awesome, though.
Ted, I
He's a
wanna
leg
chime-
man
I
now.
wanna
He
chime
likes
in.
legs.
Yeah.
He looks for him.
James is, he's Mr. Sophisticated man.
Yes, he is.
As
When
a-
he's watching
No.
Yog, the space monster,
With a
in his
martini.
smoking jacket.
I'm just from
Cigar.
my personal opinion here is I saw this as a kid. I went and
Yeah.
saw it in the movie
It's like-
theater, and I looked at that squid and I couldn't figure out how is it walking? How is it? Because you can't see the legs easily. It's like 'cause you're like, oh, I analyzed it. I know.
No,
As an adult.
you can now.
Well,
watch
now,
it.
but as a kid, I couldn't. I had no
I
idea.
admire the design. They go out to this. They built this thing like that. I mean, it's so bizarre. So that's that kind of stuff I love.
But now, sure, when you see something like Hammerhead and you go, where is the actor? That's really cool. But that's also why I love some of the tokusatsu shows, especially
Right.
Super Sentai, where some of the bad guys would be like, there's a guy with a suit of armor and his head is a bunch of playing cards. And you go, okay, all right, fine, yeah.
Why not?
I give you an A for creativity.
Iron King and
Yeah, all those shows.
And none of these things with eyes that never blink, because they couldn't afford to make them blink, and that's the sign of true budget restriction.
Yeah.
Right,
But you
right.
go with it.
Special
Sure.
edition.
Okay, Ted,
Blinking eyes.
Blinking eye.
Okay, Ted, I got a weird question for you. So you're Mr. Suit Maker. You know, you've been doing this for a while. You've got a lot of experience and stuff. You've dealt with people and stuff, and people without limbs or something. But have you ever made a suit for an animal? Like, for example, in Battlestar Galactica.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the Daggett,
Great suit.
which I didn't know. I had to be told, Larry, it's a chimp. Didn't you know that? And no,
What did you think it was again?
I thought it was
Who
a
was
little
who was he
person
saying
in
that?
there.
I thought it was okay.
Is that Gary Owens telling you, Larry? They sound like you got him laughing.
Oh yeah, that's very funny, Sean. Yeah, no, it's you guys.
You know, I'll tell you. I did a funny suit. I worked on a film at K&B called Wild America. Marty Stauffer's Wild America.
Okay.
It's kind of like Mutual of Omaha's
Wild Kingdom, which I
very
love.
similar.
Sure,
to that.
me too.
So these guys would go out into the American whatever. So they did a film based on this when these guys were kids, and Jonathan Taylor Thomas is in it. And when I was at K&B, we did a bunch of animals. We did an alligator. We did all this. I built a suit for a mule to make a mule look like a moose.
My gosh.
So we did like a moose mask that went on a mule. The antlers. So I had to do like a special bridle and harness that went on the mule's head that would hold the antlers,
Genius.
the moose antlers, and then we did a hump.
Yes.
With the fur, and it had to be combed into the mule's.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it could be used. They did have a real moose that they could cut to, but of course you can't train moose really.
right.
And so we had
You can try.
No.
Moose trainers are hard to come
Moose
by.
are mean. And
a little good Macallan Scotch. And it'll
Works
go a
for
long
me.
way. Yeah, it's like some sugar cubes and some scotch. It'll go a long way.
Now, how do you keep the mule happy
Yeah, how
in
do
the
you
costume? Do you
train-
put food inside the costume or
Yeah.
something? I mean, seriously.
its muzzle was kind of exposed.
Oh, okay.
Sort of. I mean, because we had to cover it to make it look like a moose, but it was in fleeting moments. So we had an
Okay.
animatronic
Right.
head of a moose that was, entirely fake,
Okay.
entirely puppeteered. and because it picks up one of the kids in the film, it's in the antlers of the moose. So that was entirely a fake head. And then we had the bridle system that we could put a dummy of the kid actually on. So it was fleeting moments that you see, and of course you only see the mule from about mid-body up, because of course from there down it doesn't look like a moose at all.
That's kind of like, isn't like the banthas.
I was going to say the banthas in your favorite movie, Star Wars.
They were elephants. Right? Weren't they trained to keep their trunks tucked in or something?
They had to keep them tucked in, and I think you see a lot of those outtakes where all of a sudden the trunk is just kind of
elephants. You know what's really cool? Just a really quick story. So I love
a bantha story.
Yes, it is a bantha story. You might know this because it's kind of in your neck of the woods, my friend.
Okay.
After Star Wars came out, and it was a huge success, what we had learned was some of the elephants that were used, I guess, were from marine land.
Oh, yes.
And they actually had, this is in 1978, after Star Wars had come out, they had one of the giant bantha costumes on display. And of course, we're kids, and my parents took us there. We're getting our pictures in front of the bantha thing. And I looked around. I looked to my left, and I looked to my, I can't believe I'm admitting this.
Oh,
I looked to my left, I looked to my right, and I leaned up, and I reached out, and I took a hair.
Just one?
From the bantha costume.
Wow.
Just run as fast as you can to the gate.
I actually took a bantha hair from the bantha
Still
costume.
Still have it?
Wow. You're wearing it now.
Is there a locket around your neck right now?
Well, yeah, I still have it. It's
Okay, well, why are you now all timid
sheepishly
about it?
admitting that?
because
No,
you
you're
know,
a badass.
a Lucasfilm go, hey, he stole that hair.
That's what's
they're
going to
gonna
happen.
come after you, right.
Wow. They might have
but-
bigger fish to fry.
Wait a minute, guys. There's someone at the front door.
At the police.
It's Lucasfilm, Ted. Here's your chance.
Exactly.
But talking about practical effects, those banthas in that first movie impressed me more than any large creature that's been in any of the more recent Star Wars films as CGI.
because they're kind of presented so matter of factly, like, holy shit, like what are those things? Are those real? Like you just accept them, like those are real.
But
creatures.
it looked logical,
But
too.
again, mixing the two,
Yeah.
makeup and a real animal.
Yeah.
Works.
No, and
agree.
it was such a throwaway. You're just looking at it through the binoculars.
Right.
Also,
It's just like, there it is.
if you guys could clear this up for me, because when
It's
you
true.
brought up are there real
are
banthas?
banthas.
That's what I
And
wanna-
Bigfoot is real.
I need to know these things, or else I can't sleep tonight. But you brought up this topic, which I think is great. Animals.
hair?
Animals.
Oh, animals, yes.
Animal makeup. And it made me think of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Was that a real animal? Was that a dog with a mask on its head?
It's just a dog with a mask on. And
We're talking about a famous scene in the
creepy out.
1978 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Leonard Nimoy.
Yes.
Donald
Donald
Sutherland.
Sutherland.
And so the pods somehow get crossed.
Yes.
Right, there's like the guy on a bench with his dog or something.
Yeah.
There's a frightening moment when
And
you
it's
see...
brief, but it's like,
Yeah, but so the pods get crossed, and so what you get is this half dog, half human
Head. And it's
And-
shocking.
And when that thing shows up, I mean, I'm telling you, I watch it now and I get freaked
It's
out.
a fleeting moment,
does-
but then the weird
the
thing,
tongue come out or something
It
a
licks
little
its
bit?
face, so the
Yeah.
dog's tongue just kind of comes out and
so
licks.
bizarre.
and it
That's
just-
brilliant.
I don't know if they tried to get the dog to lick
I don't
the face
know.
or not.
Yeah.
It's
Just trying to get the mask off.
Maybe it was a happy accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
I guess
great.
we'll
Freak
never
me out.
really know, will we? But
They put the essence of another dog's ass on the mask.
no, but it's a scene. This is a moment where there was a mask of the man on a real dog.
Right.
On
Yeah.
a real dog's
And
head.
normally I would say, please don't mess with dogs. Leave the poor doggies alone. But for
hopefully
this
it was-
particular effect,
hopefully it
like,
was done-
the dog got over it.
Yeah.
It's also
fine. It's just
going,
a mask.
going back to your Wyatt Earp story. It was actually nice to hear that, okay, instead of killing a deer, which would probably have been somewhat easy enough for them to do, they hired you to fabricate it.
We fabricated it.
Because a lot of times you look at movies, you think, oh shit, they killed that poor deer. But maybe not.
No one wants that smell, right?
No. I come from Wisconsin. I smelled a lot of deer corpses on the side of the road. It's no good. No, and I mean that's the one thing that was. I'd say a lot of the shops. It's like you see an animal on screen, like a fake animatronic animal. It's like it's fake. You know, we're not killing animals in order to make.
Yeah.
You know, and I try whenever, you know, it's like we do occasionally like use rabbit pelts or something like that, but we're not going out and slaughtering wolves for this. Or, you know,
Right.
chopping
Right.
So most of the time it's fake. I'm going to say 98% of the time it's fake.
Well, now
we'll
it
use
is.
feathers and we'll use that.
You know what freaks me out? Like when you go to a little toy store. Usually it's kind of a toy store like in the toy district in
I
LA.
know.
Right.
It-
Talking
And there's like
Oh,
that
yeah. I
know
little
exactly-
teeny
yes.
kitten that's made out of like
And breathing.
Yes, yeah.
breathing.
and it's a little yes,
And it's made out of rabbit pelts or
Yeah.
something.
And people go,
or
"Oh, it's a-
could be cat. Who knows?"
and they
But-
go, "Oh, how sweet! It's like a sleepy
No, it's
dog or a
freaky.
sleepy kitty."
I think it's creepy as hell. I saw one recently. It was in I was visiting a relative that was in the hospital, and I walked by the gift shop.
Yeah.
And they were all in the window. And I mean, there was like 20 of these things in baskets, looked like little sleeping puppies.
Yes.
And then I saw the and I was like, what the hell are those? And I mean, knowing what I know and how things are made, and I'm looking at them going, that's real fur.
yeah.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
can tell that's real.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's rabbit pelts.
Well, yeah, and
right.
Well,
It could be a cat.
It's funny you
gosh.
should say it because my daughter was actually given one of these when she was like a year old,
really?
and at first it's like, oh, it's a.
I would have thrown it out immediately.
Well, okay, I don't like to throw things out right away.
well,
Bring it back to the
Goodwill.
store and then fix it up with like a bladder that explodes. Like, oh,
So the guts just open up like
Yeah,
in the
just-
thing. Just
tries to take a bite out of your hand.
exactly.
Well, you bring up something kind of cool here. Okay, have you ever had to do stuff where you had like guts and gross things
Oh, yeah.
come out? Like,
Yeah.
like what did you work on that had like?
I mean, like the early Charlie Band stuff,
Oh, yeah.
or working with John Beekler on Scanner Cop, where we were always blowing up somebody's head or somebody's body was blowing up or some creature was blowing up. I remember one time on Seed People where we would make these things called nurnies, and so it's just a term that we use for guts. So it's nurnies. So I make rubber nurnies, and it's just latex rubber, and we make it all ropey and gross and
Right.
gutty. And so we ran out of nurnies because we were stuffing them into an air mortar, and an air mortar is just it's a compressed cylinder that holds compressed air that escapes very quickly, and so
Right.
we can jam a bunch of junk in there,
Right.
and just boom and shoot it against a wall. So we ran out of nurnies. So we go to craft service, and it was like whatever nurnies we could scrape up off of this truck and off the ground, along with Chinese food, along with some pasta, and like that, we were just shooting egg rolls and shooting off. So yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of gut stuff, and then thank God it was the last night of shooting because we had it all over the back of our creature too.
Right.
And we're getting back to the shop, and we're like peeling like noodles off of this. It's just horrible.
Now I want to ask it because it's more like effects work more than a suit. But
Right.
like, if, for example, in the classic Alien, my understanding was like the face hugger when they actually had the face hugger on a platter and they're looking at him. Those little guts, those were real guts.
That's what I understand. It was like chicken guts.
Yeah,
You know,
those are
that they were doing like the pseudo autopsy.
yes, the autopsy on the
And
creature.
I mean, sometimes you just can't get more real than real.
Right, right.
It's and I mean,
Yeah, it looks good.
yeah. You hear the story was Day of the Dead when
That's what I was just gonna say,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And there was a story like how they were storing all of it in a
Yep.
fridge, and the fridge broke down, and so the next day all the actors had to have
over
like,
the weekend.
And
wait.
They had a
No. Tell me the story. What? I don't know this.
They
Day
had a
of the
bunch
Dead.
of guts,
The
to
real guts,
use
like
in this-
chicken guts and like
Yeah.
entrails
For
from
effects.
Okay.
pigs and things like that.
and they were storing it in the fridge, and they were going to be shooting on Monday, I guess. And
Yeah.
so, but the fridge broke down over the weekend, so come Monday morning, they had to do all the scenes with these
Spoiled meat.
The zombies are tearing apart this guy and trying to eat, but they had to use the spoiled meat, and so they had to like take, I think, like little cotton and stuff it up people's nose and paint the cotton dark so you can't see it. So everybody they could not breathe out their noses because they were throwing
you
up
can
from
see
the
the scene where they're picking stuff up and going. And, they're pushing it into their cheeks and not their
they're
mouth,
moving their head to the side.
Yeah. It's just so good. But
My
why am I
cheek
trying-
loves this.
Yeah, my cheek and my ear just
it must have
loves
been
this.
horrible.
Yeah. I
It's
can't
kind of
imagine.
funny you should say that because I've gone to the grocery store and I've always thought, hey, if I was going to make a little zombie party or something, you could there are those great long sausage links, they're really long, and you could get a bunch of them and you could pretend, you cook them and then you can make them pretend like you're being a zombie and eating them and kind of thing. Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Sounds good.
I'll show you how to make some out of rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not as tasty.
Yeah, but they're chewy.
Oh yeah, just chew on them. Yeah.
that's what we need. We need the fake entrails to taste as good as the real ones.
Right.
How do we do that?
So look, when you're
challenge
so
accepted.
a lot of the stuff that you've done though, so a lot of it sounds like it's on a sound stage. So here you are, you're in a suit, they probably have the air conditioner on and it's really cool and stuff, but there are a lot of suit actors that had to do stuff outside.
If
the elements.
Yeah, but even if you're on stage and it's air conditioned, if you're in a suit, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been in suits on a beautifully air conditioned set, and I'm sure it's 120 degrees inside my suit.
Right.
But there's a classic, which I love, a classic Star Trek episode called Arena, where Captain Kirk, played by William Shatner, fights the Gorn, and it's out
Created by Hua Chang.
Yes, exactly. And this monster suit or creature suit, they're shooting out by Vasquez Rocks, on the outskirts
Probably
of
like
Los
95
Angeles.
degrees. Yeah.
And it looks like it. Even William Shatner, I mean, he's running around stuff, but he is sweating. And, he just has the shirt on. And then you have Bobby Clark, who had done a lot of stunts and stuff, and he's playing the monster. And I've always imagined, oh my God, what must it be like inside that?
And there's a lot of screen time too that he gets. I mean, he's in that whole episode, so the whole thing.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about that, what about like any Godzilla movie or any tokusatsu, Ultraman, where
it's constant,
you're not just walking around in this thing, you're having a fight.
Right.
Yeah.
When I went to Japan the first time, we went to Ultraman Land, which is this Ultraman theme park.
Right.
And it's for little kids. It's very tiny.
It's for little kids and Matt.
And me. and it really was that. It was a sea of kids and me and my wife, who's staring down. No, she's very supportive. But part of what they do at this park is they have this show where Ultraman shows up and the monsters show up, and they have a fight on stage that lasts for quite a while. And I can only imagine, like, the minute you put the suit on, you're already sweating.
Yeah, from get-go.
Yeah.
Just getting in it.
Just
is
getting
tough.
in it. Yeah, right.
Really.
Sliding into this thing. And now these guys are doing full-on karate kicks into each other.
I mean, for listeners, imagine if you get a wetsuit, like a scuba diver wetsuit on. You put it in, you zip it up, and then you've got the rubber thing over your head. Imagine now putting a mask.
Well, imagine putting three of those on.
Putting on that and then wrap yourself in 2 mattresses. Then you're in a creature suit.
My gosh.
I mean, the unsung heroes, really. These guys
really,
that are able
really.
to do that and go back to work the next day.
We're just dumb. No, it's just it's fun getting in it. I mean, like I said, I've been in a lot of these suits, and I know that Brian Steele and Doug Jones and Tom Woodruff, who's always in suits, gorilla suits, and we just like it. It's we get to play dress up.
Yeah,
Right.
I put a monster head on, and it's like I can see you, but you can't see me.
Yeah.
And this is really fun, and I start dancing around like an idiot, and personality kind of comes alive then.
Yeah.
This gorilla suit that I had, we once went to this Halloween party. Rob Paul.
Oh, I know Rob.
Almost human.
Yep.
And
I worked with him at K&B. Yeah.
He's a great guy. And we went to his Halloween party, and I'm walking around in this gorilla suit, and this girl wants to take a picture of me, and she grabs my ass, squeezes my ass, and starts rubbing my ass. And I have a feeling like if I were not in the gorilla costume, that wouldn't have happened.
Sure.
So what it teaches us is to wear a gorilla costume all the
To
time.
get molested
Always
by
wear
women.
a costume.
Always
Now-
wear a gorilla costume.
Now, if that sounds great to our listeners, if you like the idea of wearing a gorilla suit and getting your ass pinched or something like that, I wanted to just point out, like, one of our friends of the show, Frank Woodward, made this amazing documentary called Men in Suits from 2012 that you could still get on Amazon. And it's great because it interviews Tom and Doug Jones and a bunch of other great suit actors, and they talk about what it's like to wear these suits and act in these movies. And it's such a great documentary.
It's nutty being in a suit. I got to tell you, it's fun, but there's a moment halfway through a day where you're going, can I do this? Can I do this the rest of the day? We've got, you ask somebody, how long have I been in? 3 hours, huh? Can I do this for another 6 or 7 hours? I'm going to get out for lunch, right?
What's the longest you've been in a suit?
I was in, it was a cute little film called Frankenstein and Me. Went straight to Disney Channel.
Okay.
Starring a 12-year-old, 13-year-old Ryan Gosling.
Wow.
And Burt Reynolds was in it.
Wow.
Whoa.
He's
This
good.
was, I got hired to design, coordinate, and build Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, and the Wolfman.
Nice.
All for a kids movie. So I was in I played the Mummy and I played Frankenstein.
Wow.
Frankenstein's monster.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Because Sean would have corrected
Yeah.
you.
Boy,
Yeah.
saved myself.
Boy, good thing you
Frankenstein's
did
monster.
that.
We'll get
Yeah.
letters.
I know. No, don't. And so I was in the mummy suit, but we shot that up in Montreal, and they would not bring up a makeup artist to work with me. So I had put it on myself.
No.
And so I
Oh
got
my
the
gosh.
suit on, and it was really, the production designer was a really great guy, and he helped me get into the suit. And so I get into the gloves I had to do last because I pulled over the mask, and I had a pinhole to look out all day long. And so I get the mask on. I had to glue that down all the way around my nose, lips, all that, and I wore dentures. And then I got into the gloves, the foam latex gloves, and zipped up the back and pulled the bandages in, and I was in that for 16 hours.
16 hours.
And looking through a pinhole.
God.
I wasn't supposed to be in that long, and luckily it was a pretty easy costume to be in, other than the fact that I couldn't see all day long, and I fell asleep in the corner, and somebody thought I was a prop, and came to move me, and I kind of jumped, and
Oh my gosh.
but they changed the shooting order of that day because they were dealing with an actor that his schedule changed,
Okay.
and instead of shooting his stuff later in the day, they were going to shoot me out and then shoot his stuff, turn the camera around on him,
Yeah.
and then you weren't going to see him anymore. I'd be done, I'd
Right.
be wrapped. They had to get him on a plane as quick as they could, so they had to shoot a little bit with me for a few hours and then turn the entire camera around on him and shoot all of his stuff.
Right.
So and they spent like 5 hours or more on that, and then they broke for lunch, and they did all this. And then they turned the camera back around on me. I ended up in 16 hours, yeah.
Is there anything
gosh.
that you can do to help you keep cool
I
in
just
that
slept.
kind of suit?
Just slept.
Yeah.
And luckily it was a mummy costume. So, I mean, the whole
Yeah.
thing was fabric.
Okay.
And I
Right.
was a little skinnier then, too.
Yeah.
And, it was built up rib cage and built up a little bit of musculature, but it was it breathed really
Okay.
well.
Right.
But then I was in the Frankenstein outfit as well. And within the body of the film, it's a mannequin, it's a dummy in the film, because these kids steal what they believe is the actual Frankenstein monster from
okay.
a carnival, and they try to bring it to life. Well, at the end of the film, apparently they do, because it goes missing. So the ending credits is the Frankenstein monster walking across the Mojave Desert. Not the Mojave. Yeah, the Mojave.
Whatever. Any desert.
So we did this. We went and shot this at a dry lake bed up by Victorville.
Yeah.
And I'm in the suit. Now, it's foam latex suit from the waist up, and I had built up foam thighs and calves, and I was on lifts. And we were in an air-conditioned van. We got out there, and I'm in my Under Armour, and then I get into the suit, and I've got the head flopped forward, and I'm in the big gloves and the costume and everything, and they've got a walkie-talkie under my arm because it's a helicopter shot.
Oh.
So what they're going to do is we're in this nice, cooled, air-conditioned van. It's 120 degrees outside. Oh my God. And I had a buddy with me from, it was my own little job that I did, so it wasn't through any of the shops. So I brought a buddy with me, Bill Hunt. And Bill helped me get in. He pulled the head over, snapped everything shut. I've got the walkie-talkie, and I can hear the director up in the helicopter, and the van zips away. And I'm in the middle of a dry lake bed, and I just hear,
gosh.
"Start walking, Ted." And I'm just like doing my Frankenstein walk across here, and hear helicopter flying around me and all this stuff. I've never been cooler in my whole life.
Wow.
The foam latex was so thick on there.
Yeah.
And it was just a little bit of breathing space between my body and the foam.
So the heat never went
The
through.
heat never got through it. Wow. And the crew was miserable. And I'm out there, and I'm getting called down from the helicopter and going, "Ted, can you keep going? Can you keep going?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Thumbs up." Like,
wow.
They're all probably thinking, "This guy's amazing,
Yeah,
man.
no.
It's 120 out there. How's he doing this?"
I figured I must have been perfectly insulated
Yeah.
from the sun. The foam rubber, everything was thick enough, and
Right.
If you're traveling to the desert,
it
bring a
always
Frankenstein
Go as a
costume.
Frankenstein monster.
You know what's funny? At the end of that film, I gave that costume away to Ryan Gosling.
Really?
And
Does he still have it?
I worked with Ryan on a film called Stay.
Oh, okay.
Years
Yeah, I've
ago.
heard of it. Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the director. He ended up the same director did Quantum of Solace and World War Z.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mark Forster.
Oh.
Mark Forster was the guy's name, and he directed Stay. And Ryan was in Stay, and Ryan was about 23 at the time, and I reintroduced myself to him, and he was like, very cool and like that. And I said, I worked with you when you were about 13. You did? I said, yeah. What was it on? I said, Frankenstein and Me, and he goes, oh my God, you're Ted. I was like, yeah, I'm Ted. He goes, you gave me the Frankenstein outfit. And I said, yeah, I did. He goes, that's still in my closet at my mom's house in my bedroom.
No way. That's awesome.
So it was pretty funny.
That's
I don't know if he
so
still has it.
cool. Oh,
But
I'm sure.
When we get him on the show, we'll ask him.
yeah, when you get Ryan on the show. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I mean, it was cool to work with him when he was 13, then 23, and then he's turned into megastar.
Was he a good kid?
He was a great kid. They were all great kids on that show. And anybody that has young kids, or I think they play it every year, Frankenstein and Me.
Actually, sounds like a fun movie.
It's a cute, fun minute. It's a kid that lives up in the high desert, Victorville, and loses his dad early on in the film, and he's in the famous monsters and all this kind of monster films, and he has this very Walter Mitty type. He's always daydreaming, and he daydreams. He's in Night of the Living Dead and Frankenstein and Dracula, and it's all the classic monsters. And so you'll be transported into what's going on in his mind.
That's
him and his
cool.
little brother. It's a fun movie. It's a really fun movie.
So, Ted, let me ask you, like you were saying how today they're doing more of the kind of the combination CGI, green screen, like mixed with practical suit effects. Like, where do you see things going, from this point? I mean, do you think there's going to see more of that? Like, I know you said you've worked in some of the Marvel films.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, now there's such a tidal wave of so much genre stuff now. I mean, we've said this before, nerds run Hollywood now. Science fiction, fantasy, horror are the big movies,
right?
It's everywhere. So it seems like there's more need for this stuff.
There is, and I honestly, we started seeing it on the very first Iron Man, where if I have the story right, we were contracted to design the Iron Man costume and build not costume, but make 3D representations of it to have on set as reference. And then it was like, well, we can get a guy in like the helmet, right? And it was like, yeah, we can probably, let's engineer that, because it was built around a stunt performer to begin with,
right?
And so it's like, we'll do that. And it's like, well, we could probably get the torso, right? We could probably, and it literally got to Jon Favreau going, holy smokes, this looks great. We got to get a guy in this entire thing,
right?
Now, I'm saying this is a little bit secondhand, but I was there for the first Iron Man, and little by little we started figuring out how can we do this, and like some of the elbow joints and the wrist, or elbow or midsection knees would be red fabric, and then they would digitally clean those up. But Jon Favreau, from what I remember, really liked having that real suit on set,
right?
And I think every Iron Man that we've done since there's been at least a waist up suit,
right?
That Robert has worn some version of it, the helmet,
right?
The arms, the gloves. You see a lot of pictures of Robert Downey in the mocap suit, where sometimes you just can't have somebody in a clunky fiberglass,
especially when it comes out,
suit.
when he comes out of it, like
sure. And obviously, I mean, we could do something like that, but my God, how much time and money it takes to do that.
Right.
It's better left to CG.
Right.
Because it looks great. They've got that down pat perfectly.
We've talked about before.
Well.
Yes. And it looks
if
fantastic.
it's hard, if it's a hard mechanical suit and all that kind of stuff, it's the perfect marriage.
Right.
But I mean, the thing that we're doing too, or we'll get Robert Downey in a torso and the arms, and they just digitally do the bottom.
Right.
Because it's easier to do. But Jon Favreau is one of those guys, I think, that originally started really championing physical effects, and like, let's do this digital, but can't we have this physical?
Right.
Let's marry these. And I mean, it was Jon Favreau and Zathura as well.
Right.
The Zorgon creatures that the performers' heads were just sticking out of the back of the creature with green screen hoods on, and they digitally erased the performer's head because the heads came off the chest of the performer.
Right.
So they twisted up the character. So it's like, okay, we got a 3D creature on set. And it just keeps going. I mean, you look at the new Star Wars films like Solo and Rogue One. There's tons of great creatures.
Good
in those.
practical creatures. That's true.
I mean, we didn't get to do them, but they were done over in England.
Soon, my friend. Soon.
But yeah, you're right. You're saying it's a lot. It's a nice trend after after the Star Wars prequels, which is nothing but freaking CGI,
just CG
crap.
Yeah, just people.
It is amazing how quickly you check out.
Oh
yeah.
Well, and I was never. Boy, I don't know. I don't know if I get kicked out through the table here or anything like that. I was never a fan of the Lord of the Rings films because some of the what I liked is when those films got smaller and more. You're focusing on the characters here. The big scapes, the big digital that just went on for. It's like I just couldn't buy it. I wasn't in the world anymore.
Okay.
The world got too big. And some of the Hellboy films, even though they're supposed to be fantastic, I think it was in Hellboy 2 where they're in this underground and there's the gears.
Yeah,
and
all the gears.
It's just too big. And I know it's not real. There's no connection to the physical world. And I think that's the problem I have with CG.
I would argue that those movies, there's enough human element stuff that kept me anchored.
Yeah.
Whereas with Star Wars films... it's so much activity,
and there's no
constantly.
And there's no human element at all because there's badly written characters.
When you add the flat characterization of everyone in that movie.
Right.
Are you talking about the prequels, Mason?
Yes. Yeah. So, well, especially like Phantom Menace, they get a little warmer as they go along, but not much.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to save that for our Star Wars show. But
when is the Star Wars show?
We've been asking the same question.
No. Look, people have been asking. We are working on it.
If we piece together every conversation that we've had of Star Wars over 100 episodes, we have our Star Wars episode.
Get to editing right now. Got a 12-hour Star Wars show.
Yes.
We're definitely going to do a Star Trek episode.
Count me in for that.
Yes. Trek Wars episode.
Well, there's your answer, Ted.
we have discussed quite a bit of it, though.
You say that,
sir.
I didn't say that. But you say, we've talked so much about Star Wars. We don't need to do. No, we need to have a Star Wars show. And to answer your question, we have some feelers out. We want the perfect guest. We have feelers out to get a perfect guest, and we're working on it.
We're waiting for George to call us back.
No, it's not George. But if Sean doesn't feel like, we talked about Star Wars all kinds of times. So
George or
George went.
He's a huge Star Wars.
He played a Wampa.
No, wait a minute, because George Wendt sat next to. John Ratzenberger, who was in The Empire Strikes Back.
Empire, that's right. He's also in Superman.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
There you go.
Oh boy.
See? Yeah. It's all coming together.
Well, this has been great.
This has been great. Yes, this has been awesome.
Best Star Wars show ever.
Well, can you? So Ted, what? I mean, you've kind of hinted at some things. Are there some projects coming up that you can kind of talk about, or give us a little?
What do you got in the pipeline?
Little taste of what?
You know what? Because we work on all the Marvel stuff. Let me tell you the very end of the next Avengers film.
Sure.
So
what happens?
I know nothing about it. I know absolutely nothing about it. Right. What do we have? That's what I hate. I work on so much stuff.
Right.
And
that's a good thing.
It used to. My dad thought I was such a liar one night. I'm back home at Christmas time, and we're watching television, and like an Affleck commercial comes on or Burger King commercial comes on. I was like, I worked on that. And I'm like, what'd you do? I said, we built the thing with the stuff. And then it's like 4 commercials in a row I had worked on. Wow. And then when we got to the third or fourth, he's going, no, you didn't. Now you couldn't have. I was like, no, I did.
That's just to get back at him, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, they paid me to do that, Dad.
Yeah.
I got paid.
It was a job.
Exactly. What's coming up? I work on so many commercials, and the turnaround on them is incredible. Because, I mean... the one I shot last weekend will probably be out in a month.
Okay.
Like up on unfortunately, I can't tell you what it was.
Okay.
It's just there's so many things right now, and just especially at Legacy, we work on high profile stuff. Everything's an NDA.
Right.
So
I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, there was stuff I was working on today that would make nerds just melt.
Really?
All right. Well, is there anything
Okay.
that you worked on?
So as you
that
guys shut
just-
off the recorder and I tell you.
Is there anything that you worked on that's out right now?
It's out right now. What am I thinking? Well, we worked on Infinity Wars, the one that's already out.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great.
We're
I enjoyed
always-
that.
Wonderful.
We're always
Loved it.
doing
I mean,
Iron Man pieces for all.
I
of
really
that.
like the fact that they did some pretty heavy shit in that movie, which I was really happy with. I mean, like they went dark. They went like holy crap, it was just a good balance of
And to unite all those characters.
Oh my God, yeah,
in
they
a
did a
pretty
good-
seamless way.
Yeah, they did a good job.
I mean, and Goosebumps is coming up in
Oh, yeah.
October.
Okay.
So the first one was a pretty big hit, right?
Yeah, I think it did really well.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were down in Atlanta shooting for about 2.5 months. So how many suits was I in? I was in 4 different suits.
Wow,
in
okay.
that. So, and then we were also puppeteering Slappy, the little ventriloquist dummy.
Okay.
So it took 3 of us to do that. So it was
Cool.
me and a guy from Legacy, Rick Allenson, and then Avery Jones, who's a puppeteer from down in that area. He doesn't live in Atlanta. Where does he live? Outside, whatever.
Okay.
But the 3 of us were. And BJ Geyer, another puppeteer. So yeah, he was brought in because there was a couple times where I was supposed to be in all 4 of those suits, but one on Monday night and then Wednesday night, or maybe next week I'm going to be in some. And there was a scene where it's like, well, you guys are going to have all 4 suits working, right? And we're like, no. It's like the only guy in it. So we ended up sticking this guy in it and that guy in it.
Wow.
It was kind of, that was a fun shoot. So I mean, that's coming up. There's always a Jax Links commercial on. So
Yeah.
I'm doing that kind of stuff.
So I just wanted to give you a piece of,
Your mind?
No, I just want to throw out a suggestion. So you do those little jerky or links things with Bigfoot, right? And you're saying,
Messing
"Wow,
with
I want to
Sasquatch,
do
yeah.
a new Sasquatch." How about a female Sasquatch?
If they want me to build one, I'll
That's an
build
idea.
one.
I think you should throw that out there.
Usually somebody just throws a design on my table and I have to build it.
Oh, I see.
Or throw in a chupacabra. Design one of those.
That was one we actually did back in. It was just at the end of last year. It was a series. Oh no, they came out this year. It was a series of commercials for. It was a tax, not H&R Block. What's the other one?
R&H block.
Yeah, R&H.
TurboTax?
It was
TurboTax?
It was TurboTax. Thank
Okay.
you very much. So TurboTax, and we did all these different monsters. We did a chupacabra.
Really?
There was
Okay.
a chupacabra
No.
on a like a little one of those little runabout scooters.
Okay.
I played a creature under the bed. There's a big blobby creature that comes up from underneath
Cool.
the bed and speaks with this nice British accent and talking about TurboTax.
Nice.
And then the creature slips underneath the bed again. So
That's awesome.
Something you see in all tax commercials.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
It was about facing. I think the whole idea was facing your fears.
Oh,
Just
okay.
do your
That's
taxes, face your fears.
That's what we do here.
Yeah, constantly.
Nice.
So if someone wants to get an overview of you, where do they
Yeah.
go on the internet? Do you have a website?
I've
Do you
got-
have
Is there like a Ted Haynes park
Yeah.
There,
you can go to?
Ted Haines Park.
Ted Haynes Land.
Yeah. Where's
Ted
your
Haines-
statue?
It's exactly. It's in Burbank in my garage. It's Ted Haines. No, right now all I got is a Facebook page. It's
Okay.
Ted Haines Foam Fabricator.
Cool. Okay.
And so I've been trying to be a little bit more conscious of that and putting up some things that I can. It's the hardest thing is to put stuff up that I'm allowed to put up.
Right.
Without
Sure,
getting in
yeah,
trouble.
yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
my own shop. I don't.
Right,
It's
right.
like
Yeah.
I can't just willy nilly start putting stuff up.
Right.
But I've been trying to put things up, and I just started putting things on Instagram as well.
Cool.
So you
cool.
just search for me on there, Ted Haines. I think it says Foam Faber.
Cool. All
We'll
right.
do it.
So-
Yeah. No, you have such an amazing body of work. And
Yeah.
Guys in monster suits.
Yeah.
You can't get any better than that. You know.
The worst thing is doing this for 30 years, I've forgotten half of the stuff I've worked on. It's terrible.
You have to make a
We'll have
journal.
you
You have to
back.
Yeah, exactly.
We gotta get you back.
I'll come back with a list.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Perhaps I should have prepared. No, but I mean, there's times I'll go on my own IMDb, because I'm
Right,
on there
right.
too. You can look at me,
Yeah,
Ted
I looked
Haines
you up.
or Theodore Haines, because sometimes they'll credit me as Theodore.
Oh, okay.
It's my given name, but
Sure.
you'll find 2 different things under there. But I'll look on there and it's like, I worked on that? Because when I got to tell you, when I worked at K&B, there was something new I was working on every week.
Wow.
I was doing episodes of a lot of TV, Chicago Hope and ER and Ally McBeal.
Wow.
And it's just like bing, bang, boom. It's just like do something. And it's like, oh, Ted, we need a fake head for some movie. And I remember watching a really terrible, crappy film one night, and then credits are rolling, and it's like creature face of Ted Haines. I was like, what? What the hell? And I'm looking through a TV guide, and what was this? I was like, oh my God, that's what they use that head for.
That's
You know,
funny,
so it's
yeah.
like I've got, well, I mean, IMDb I think shows like maybe 30 credits or something. I know I've worked on well over 300 films.
Wow, that's
you know,
amazing.
and then music videos and TV shows, and
Right.
you know, it's just the list goes on and on. So I
Cool.
just,
It's good to be working.
Yeah.
it's good to be working.
yeah.
And we could hear stories about this kind of stuff all day.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, we definitely have to have you back.
I
Yeah.
tell stories all day long.
Great. No, that's perfect. That's what we
That's
love.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Ted, thank you so much
Oh,
for
you're
being
welcome.
with
Thank
us.
you.
tonight.
Thank you.
It's such a
Having
pleasure
me.
having you.
This is
Yes.
great.
Such great stories.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. Bye, guys.
Let's not end.
Never.
Let's not make it
Can
end.
I just throw out one thing?
Sure.
Let's play Steve Austin.
Let's play
Let's
action
have a
figures.
monster pajama party right now.
Just really quickly, Monster
Sure.
Suits. This is something that happened to me today.
Oh,
Today. Wow.
Today.
fresh.
So I
Monster suit news from the front page.
so I need to fix my toilet.
Okay.
And
No, well,
yeah. So I need a little part that's inside the toilet. And I throw on a t-shirt and I've got my shorts on and I go to Home Depot. And I go and I find the toilet part.
Right.
And I go up to the register, and there's a lady about 65 or something who's ringing me up, and she looks at me and goes, "Oh, I love that movie." And I'm wearing a Creature from the Black Lagoon t-shirt. And I said, "Oh, yeah." And I go, "This is like one of my favorite films." She goes, "Oh, I love that movie." And I go, "Have you ever seen it in 3D?" And she goes, "I've seen it in black and white." and I go, "Well, that's great. You should check it out on 3D." And I had this nice little moment, and she rings me up, and I paired, and I'm thinking, that's so cool. I love it when you meet someone who's like older, who might know. I start to walk out the door, and you know how at Home Depot there's like a security person that
they
checks.
always check what you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this woman, I hand this woman my receipt. She's a security person, and she's got to be about 23 or 24. She takes her seat, looks at me, and goes, "Oh, I love this shirt." And I go, "Oh, what a thank you. You know, this is," she goes, "It's the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I love that movie." And I thought, oh my God, just in a matter of minutes, I just met an older woman and a younger woman who both knew Creature from the Black Lagoon, one
That's
of the
nice.
greatest suits ever
One of
made.
the first real kind of
Full
cinematic
body.
full monster suits.
So then you go to the parking lot, and there's a security guard, and it's Julie Adams. It's like, I was in that.
No. The point that I was trying to make, I was so happy that I was coming here tonight. We were going to talk about monster suits. Here, I've met these two people of all places at Home Depot, and still, one of the greatest monster suits is still being recognized.
If it's a good
today.
monster suit, yeah, it survives time. It's like timeless.
True.
Cool.
Good monster suits never die.
That's right.
Live by that motto
They just get shoved in storage.
and rot.
Time for listener shout out.
Shout out.
This goes out to Doug Busek from here in LA.
All right, Doug.
Hey.
Doug recently bought a Monster Party T-shirt.
Cool.
He did.
He's a happy man now.
And he wrote a nice
little
note.
scamp.
He wrote a nice note saying, "Thanks for getting the T-shirt out in the mail so quickly. I love the fact that you guys use the nice, thick Hanes shirts.
Yes.
There seem to be more and more thin, crappy shirts out there.
That's right. Only the best
Wait
for
a minute.
Monster Party.
Whoa. There are thin, crabby shirts we can get?
No, we don't want to get those shirts.
Oh, okay.
It's like what I say. We give and provide high quality.
We give good shirts.
Well, Doug goes on to say, "I should have figured you guys would do it right."
Oh,
Right.
Oh,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Doug.
I can't stop loving you.
He says, "I've been listening for about a year, catching up with all the old episodes, almost done. I found out about the show by picking up a couple of your promo cards at Creature Features.
Hey,
Cool.
I love the longer format, at least compared to the earlier shows.
The earlier 10-minute episodes.
No, they weren't 10 minutes. They were like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Ideas for shows.
Oh,
Oh.
boy.
Here-
Here we go.
Yeah.
What is your favorite or least favorite non-Godzilla Toho film?
Oh, that's
What?
My favorite
not
is
bad.
The Mysterians, he says.
Okay.
Non-Godzilla.
Okay. Yeah.
Non-Godzilla.
Okay, that's a good one.
But still genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toho. So, I mean, I figure for most of us it would be Gargantuas.
Yeah,
for me,
I think, yeah.
Gargantua is
Not-
maybe
yeah.
in my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, me too.
But we're going to save that for.
We're going to
Our
say that
gargantuous
for our
episode.
least favorite non-Godzilla Toho film episode.
All right, cool.
Also, how about another underrated, overrated?
Yes, please.
Yes, I
Always.
agree. I agree.
Maybe one focused on Hammer films too.
Oh, yeah.
So a
I
Hammer
love-
episode. Is
we could do that.
definitely-
We actually haven't done.
Well, we did British horror.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But solely Hammer. We
Right. 'Cause
I
haven't
don't
done.
know if we've gone through every Hammer film.
I don't think we have.
There's a
And
lot
especially
there.
some of those early psychological terror ones.
Yeah, no, there's easily you could do Hammer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you, Doug.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
good
thanks.
suggestions.
Great. And I think that we should also give an extra shout out to our friend Mark Tavares.
Yes, smart.
Yes.
Because Mark is the one who kind of led Ted to Monster Party.
That's true. That's true. He
Mark
told him about our
Tavares is a
podcast.
very talented monster maker
That's
himself.
right. We had him on our
artist.
episode as monster making episode.
Right.
Yeah, no, he's great, and he's a big fan of our show. He actually
right.
likes our show.
Can you believe that?
Does that surprise you?
Well,
It doesn't surprise
it
me.
doesn't surprise me,
Because
but
it's a good show. It's a great show.
okay. It is a good show.
No, it's a great
It's
show.
okay, it's a great show. Look, you know what? You're preaching to the converted. I'm right here. I'm part of this.
I know.
I haven't left the room.
I know.
I'm still here.
I know. No spittle.
No spittle. Oh, let me. No, except one right on my eyelid. Okay, it's gone
But yes,
now.
Mark, we love you.
Yes, we do,
Yes, thank
and
you, Mark.
we got to get him back again.
Yes, we do.
Anytime. Be
All
great.
right. How about now?
All right.
Up. Too late.
Call him up.
And speaking of creature features, I want to give a special thanks to our sponsors at Creature Features.
Creature features.
Creature Features.
You can pick up our flyers there.
well, not exactly.
Virtual flyers.
Not exactly.
Right.
But look.
Right.
Sean, Creature Features is still around. You go to their website. That's creaturefeatures.com. It'll give you all kinds of information of the stuff that they're working on.
Cool.
Other book signings or CD releases.
Art shows.
Yeah, anything like that. And the other thing, too, is you could catch them on eBay. They're
Always selling all kinds of stuff.
They do. C-Features is their little store, and you check it out. They have all kinds of stuff.
Cool.
Also want to give special thanks to Time Tunnel Toys.
All right, Time Tunnel.
Time Tunnel Toys, located at 1583 Meridian Avenue in San Jose, California. And Joe and Sharon have an amazing store filled with all kinds of vintage monsters and black velvet paintings and records and comics and all kinds of fun stuff.
And what else? Keep going.
I tell you. Well, they
And
have...
books on monster suits. and
they have.
things.
There's a lot of Godzilla stuff that they have.
Yes,
There's
yes.
like robot stuff. There's
Cool.
vintage Star Wars figures.
Keep going.
All kinds of great stuff at this amazing
And?
store. Well, if you go to their website, it'll also give you information about their convention that they hold about
Oh,
every
yes, that's
4
right.
or 5 months.
Yes.
The San Jose Toy Collectibles Show.
Cool.
Check
I
it out.
still want to go. I've never been.
Oh, it's so
I know,
much fun.
I know.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think we should all go. We should get.
trip.
We should first of
In the
all we
Monster
should buy
Party
a
mobile.
van,
Yes.
make it our van,
Yes.
paint our logo on the side, drive there, sell the van, and use that money
sell the
to buy
van.
things at the convention.
Right.
See,
And hitchhike home.
Cool.
No, I'm not. No,
Man.
I'm not doing that.
that's rock and roll.
Let's also remind everybody to find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV.
That's right.
On Twitter at Monster Party HQ. Also on Instagram, Monster Party HQ.
We're all over the internet and social media. We rule.
yeah. and we want to.
Boy, that new liver is doing wonders for you, isn't it? Now, just for listeners, he doesn't have a new liver. It's the
No,
same
it's a
liver.
repaired liver.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's got, like when you watch a cartoon and they show the tire that's got all those crisscross patches.
Yeah.
That's his liver.
That's pretty much, yeah.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Strothe.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
Build a monster suit. You're going to like the way you look.
Do you go back to Star Wars? I'm talking Star Wars. And she gets called Leia.
Does she?
Yes, she does.
It's called Carrie.
That's right. Yeah, that's the blooper, the mistake.
Yeah.
You know that?
Carrie,
Like I don't know if they changed it. But
It's after the Death Star.
Yeah.
That's still in there.
But you're so excited that hey,
Carrie.
I'm sure in the special edition.
No, and here's why. No. Here's why. I just went. There's a couple things I wanted to say, and one of them was I just went to.
Is
the
that your new
Hollywood
sound
Bowl,
check, James?
when they were showing, they had the live orchestra playing all the music for Star Wars. So they showed Star Wars: A New Hope, and of course, it's so funny when there's certain points that the audience reacts to. And one of them is, in this, because it's the new digital Star Wars. So when Han Solo is in the bar and Greedo comes over and Greedo fires first and Han, the whole audience, people go, oh, Han shot first, and then there are other great moments that it's great to see in the whole Hollywood Bowl.
Were you guys with? I think it's fun that they did it, but I don't know if they should have. Is the stormtrooper that whacks his head?
Yes.
I never noticed it until people started talking about it.
Same here.
Really noticed.
Oh yeah, where
added
is
the
it in
sound
again?
They added a clunk.
No.
Really?
Yeah, it's 80 yard in now.
No.
Yeah.
I remember early on.
I never.
In the first Star Wars, when
Yeah.
R2 and 3PO are in the control room,
Yeah.
and Han and Luke have gone out to get the princess and everything, and the stormtroopers open up, get in there and the door goes up. And they come walking in, and there's one stormtrooper that just takes it right in the forehead.
Because Chewie also knocks his head inside the Falcon.
He does,
briefly,
yeah.
lightly.
Yeah.
But I remember before the whole special edition thing happened, even early on, Lucas tampered with the sound effects because I think the very first re-release. When the famous swinging across the thing, they added echoes in their voice.
Right.
And that was not there. Because I'd seen the movie 10 times in the theater. So I knew it by heart, every visual, every audio.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's and there was other little things too, but I remember that it's like there's nowhere to go or trap. There was the echo in the so even then he was tampering with it early on.
But Spielberg's the same way too, with the flashlights and E.T. It's why not just leave the movie alone? Why don't you just let it be what it is?
Can you imagine if some executive at MGM goes, "Hey, that Wizard of Oz? Let's throw a few special effects in that film, or Gone with the Wind. Hey, let's take Gone with the Wind and change it up.
Made white.
Yeah. Well, that's
nice one, Sean.
Well, I don't.
Man,
no,
you clean some pus off your liver, and all of a sudden,
he's
firing on all cylinders.
IV removed today.
Oh,
I almost died basically.
Yeah.
So I'm okay now.
Are you sure you're not blowing that out of proportion? No, you did.
No,
you were
He
close.
could have died.
What, that
He
he
could have
died or
died.
that he's okay?
Yeah. No, both.
He could have died. Now he's just dying inside.
Ted,
No, that's
It's
me.
a weird configuration. I don't know if I can get used to this configuration.
Maybe.
Well, here's the thing.
You across the table.
It's still
right
no.
next to Larry.
That's
No,
right.
it's
Yeah,
weird.
you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Now,
Andrea London.
now the spittle's gonna go right to you.
So when I came back from Romania, I was in Romania for 3.5 months.
On subspecies and all those?
Just after Subspecies, it was what was the first one? Was Mandroid.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Mandroid.
The hottest kind of droid.
Is a Mandroid.
But that was with Denise. Was that Denise Crosby?
No,
That was
Eliminator.
That's right,
Eliminators.
Eliminators. But there
That
was
was
a
before my time.
but wasn't there a Mandroid in it? Or was he called
there was,
Yeah,
right.
No, it was called the Mandroid. Yeah.
You're
the
right.
Mandroid.
Yeah, that was-
yeah.
But then they changed the name of the film. But yeah, so when I came back anyhow from Romania, they were doing pickups on CARNOSAUR on the first one. And so they brought me in I repaired their 1/5 scale T-Rex, which was beaten to hell.
Wow.
So I repaired that. The mechanic wasn't available. The other people weren't, so I just fixed all this stuff for John. And then we took it on set for, I think, a few nights in Corman's studio down in, was it Santa Monica? Somewhere there.
Yeah, isn't it Venice? Wasn't it
Venice, Venice.
Remember everyone to talk in the mics, by the way.
Yeah, well, we should test our...
How close do you got to get?
Hello.
Oh, you sound
If you
Like
hug
your
it, it
Elvis.
sounds the
Kinda hug
best.
it, yeah.
If you hug it, it sounds
James
You
is
can
like
hold it
Elvis.
too if you want,
Hello.
or move it forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the only reason
I'm
I asked
Yeah,
is
I'm sorry.
because I had met her years ago, the makeup artist on CARNOSAUR.
Andrea London?
Andrea London, yep. And if it weren't for her, I might not be sitting here right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Why?
Wait,
What happened? Did you
Because-
save your life?
Save your life. Did the Carnosaur almost fall on you?
Oh, shit.
I was living in New York at the time, and I'd gone to film school, and I always thought about moving to LA, but I just didn't pick up and do it. and she really impressed me. I'd met her at a youth hostel in Greece, and she had been.
That's your story.
She was like the same age as me, but she had lived in all these different cities and she had done all these different things. I'm just like, damn, I'd better get my ass in gear. So she helped inspire me to move out here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have you ever
I know
tried to
the name
contact
sounds
her?
really familiar.
Get a hold of her since then?
There was that restraining order. So
I actually looked her up on Facebook. I think she was married to a doctor. That was that.
Yeah.
Stupid.
When you
dogs.
looked in the window of her house, I bet he's a doctor.
But when I drove cross country to move out here, I stopped and visited her in Cleveland.
Wow.
Why won't you love me?
I had a boombox held up. And,
I made a mess. My soda just popped.
Oh.
You started talking about CARNOSAUR,
Is that code?
and I got so excited.
This show is hot. Yeah, hold on. Let me grab one.
Sorry, guys.
And so just to remind you, so what we're going to do, the way we do this is Matt does his little greeting. We introduce ourselves.
You are going to introduce him.
Yep.
We'll have a good time. We'll be like buddies, you know, shaking hands and playing cards.
That's
at
the
the
thing,
end.
too.
You are determined to make him leave.
Yeah, I know that.
When I was in high school, I got caught. We had this gym teacher who was a real gruff guy. His name was Ray Greggins.
Yeah,
And I said, there's a rumor going around that he's actually gay. That's why they call him Gay Ray. As he's walking in the room, and he looks at me and he goes, "What do they call me?" And then I go into, I'm like Woody Allen. I'm like, it's just a rumor.
said that.
It wasn't me who said it. It was
read it off of skywriting.
you should have said Ray Bay, because we're here by the Bay Area.
Right. Just related to Turan Bay. No, that was bad.
in sixth grade, I had a social studies teacher, and I cartooned, and I did a caricature of Miss Frankenstein, and then I started doing all these other teachers as monsters, and the guy sitting next to me picks up my doodles and took it to show it to the teacher, and I
Are you
panicked. I'm like,
kidding?
no. The teacher laughed. There you
Well,
go.
that's a good teacher. And I have to say that Ray Greggins didn't really hold it against me.
No, as a matter of fact,
Make
he's
you
now.
like 50 push-ups.
No,
Yeah,
no. In fact,
no.
he's now a listener to our show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Is
Is
he?
he really?
No.
Oh my God.
What do you know?
Fake
All
news.
right.
All right, we should probably start.
Okay, we all good? We're all good with the...
Test,
I
test.
think it sounds good to me.
There's some
All
people
sounds
who have
good.
to work tomorrow, so.
Okay. Is that you, Sean?
What?
Do you have to work tomorrow?
Not tomorrow. It's the weekend.
The
Tomorrow's
weekend is
Friday.
tomorrow?
Oh, no.
No, Thursday.
Yeah.
You bet. Oh, my God.
Okay, so you're physically
guys,
you're okay,
it's
but
Friday,
your mind
right?
is a little slow.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, you're all
can be late.
hopped up
Yeah.
still.
Okay, now just one thing before we start. So the camera, we're gonna take photos of
Yeah.
James and okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Pass it around.
He's got to do his thing.
I
over
gotta
there.
work the
of
board.
course. We'll just-
So Tay, you don't mind. Everyone, we're gonna be taking photos throughout.
Do what you do.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. You're camera ready, so.
Yeah, handsome man.
Candids.
Phones on. Phones on.
Stun.
On stun.
Okay.
And if you feel like you need to pee or you
Just
need
do it
another
right in the
drink,
chair.
what we
Or
gonna do?
vomit?
No,
Go ahead.
No, you can just say we can start to go, guys. Can we just take a $5 or something? And you
Sure.
know, it's happened before.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
have machines.
Other people have had to pee before?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not.
You guys don't
Okay.
pee though, right?
All right.
No, I pee.
Professional.
No. After I hit 50. every 15 minutes.
I hear you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Who's ready
Depends.
to do this?
Depends.
Okay, so monster suits. We're calling
Monster suits, yes.
Monster suits.
Called monster suits.
Is that okay with you?
In other words, the studio executives who greenlight monster movies,
Exactly.
right? Okay. Yeah.
it. The suits.
Those guys.
Bastards.
That's not what I think when I hear that.
Let's waste some more time exploring this theory.
I just don't want him to go into that.
Don't worry. I will not.
Yes, that's
go
what he
into it.
thinks, Larry. That's what he thinks. And you know what? It's so weird because it's like we're almost supernatural. We come up with a title, a topic, and we're like, oh man, that's such a great topic. And they're like, who do we get? Who do we get? And we got somebody. Oh, let me start. I'm back. Sure. we even got to the topic yet. And who do we get? We get me. Yeah. I'm Matt Weinhold.
I'm Ted Haines. And
we're caught in a time loop. It just keeps happening over again.
We're unstuck in time, like Billy Pilgrim.
All right, this is all very fun.
All right, ready?
Okay, try that again.
Right, okay.
Make it clean.
I will.
And so I remember opening this page up. If I can just find it, damn it.
Take a moment.
No, this is good. This is good radio. This is good radio, Ted.
This is good radio.
Yes.
We're gonna
read it quieter.
We're gonna cut this out.
No, we're not. Oh, there's another page and another
Millennium
page.
Falcon. Let me tell you what I'm looking at here. Some
No. Ted,
Ralph McGuire,
just find.
Luke,
You sure it was this book?
Ted,
Sir Alec Guinness.
Ted, just find
You know what?
the page.
I totally forgot. I fucking hate Star Wars. Oh, Star Trek we were supposed to be talking about.
There you go.
I totally forgot.
And I'm back.
Where's the picture of the Enterprise? What can we do to get 50 cents?
Right.
So that we can
Right.
build up, because how much would a movie have been back then at 77? a buck and a quarter maybe.
Did you
Yeah.
get into getting aluminum cans? Saving aluminum.
Oh, yeah, we did later on, yeah.
Okay, that's what we did.
That's how we bought our pot.
Yeah.
No, you know what's funny is that I didn't. I never. My brother was the drinker. My sister was the drinker. My first drink, when I actually sat down and drank a ton of beer, I was 24.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was in Romania.
Oh, really?
I was like, what the hell else?
Thomerson.
It was honestly, it was on it.
That makes
it's
sense.
like, what the hell else are we gonna do? We're in Romania. It's like they're just 1 year out of the revolution, and we're staying in this beautiful chateau. It's like, drink.
Yeah,
It's so.
Wow.
But yeah, I was a pretty sober kid.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you didn't get into pot.
No, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I would have hung out with you.
I was just
clean.
a nerdy ass kid because everybody else was drinking on the weekends or smoking pot on the weekends, and I was hanging around with my buddies. We were making Super 8 films.
Yeah.
But then we were also talking our girlfriends into putting on skimpy outfits and shit
Oh,
that
sure.
for the Slumber Party Massacre films that
Right.
we were doing.
Of course.
Did you film any of those?
Oh shit, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. No,
I didn't do that.
Girls got terrorized, and
Cool.
that's very clever.
Built miniatures of my
Matt, you
buddy's
should have done
house
that.
and blew them up. And
Vince
Really?
girl
That's
was
awesome.
this. So we're doing this.
I found that if you got a girl drunk and stoned, that was easier than making an entire movie around them.
Yeah.
yeah, but we also got to blow stuff up at the same time.
Okay, you win.
So we saw boobs and blew things up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, if I could go back, look, I was a troubled kid because I was a troubled kid. And so if I could go back in time and do things a little differently, maybe I would have. But considering it all,
Well, yeah, you came out.
I had some fun.
Right.
If I could go back, I'd probably throw a little trouble in. Because
Okay.
I was pretty straight. I was just
Yes, me
a
too.
really straight kid.
Yeah.
Wait. You would cause some trouble if you went
Yeah,
back?
I was very straight too.
I know.
Yeah, but I mean, I probably wouldn't have minded a little bit of partying and getting a little crazy.
Really?
Well, yeah. I look back at it now. I would have liked to.
Well, yeah, looking
See,
back
I don't
on
feel
it.
that way. I look back and I
look.
would be straight.
Well, and I came straight out here too after, like I said, I hung around Wisconsin a little bit. I had odd jobs and stuff, but I didn't go to college and or any extended school. And it's like I should have been in art college. I should have been, and I would have loved it.
Did you eat a lot of cheese?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, okay.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
America's
Where are you
Dairyland.
from? Like you're
I'm just
like
getting it.
you're like Mr.
It's
Pittsburgh or something.
bratwurst
Hey.
and cheese and beer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like those are
true.
the three major
that
food
works
groups.
for me.
No,
Yeah,
I
it's-
think that's neat. I love cheese.
Oh yeah, no, it was cheese all the time. I mean,
nice
I
topic.
was in Boy Scouts and whatever, and we would tour dairies, and here's how the cheese is made. And
If I could go back, I would have gotten into less trouble and eaten more cheese.
eating more cheese. Huzzah!